Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See what I'm saying? On-chain revolution. Guns. Boom.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the On-Chain Hour, and we got Bitcoin pumping all morning. We saw this coming. I told you guys about it yesterday. November will be bullish for crypto. November will be bullish for Bitcoin, and I do think December is going to be absolutely insane for the altcoins. We do know December 1st, we finally stop quantitative tightening, which usually means that we're going to head into a very, very risk-on momentum because a lot of TradFi will now be trying to front-run quantitative easing, just like they front-ran the pause of quantitative tightening. So I think the next couple months are going to be very bullish for Bitcoin. I think the next couple months will be very bullish for altcoins, and we need it. We need life back into our markets. We need a reason to use these dApps. We need a reason to keep pushing forward. A lot of people are just smacked in the face. A lot of people are quitting on the timeline or fake quitting. I don't know. I see a lot of those posts. I'm selling everything. Today's my last day in crypto, blah, 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 blah. But I do think we're going to get a very bullish momentum going into the second week of November. And I think that does start today. Obviously, Monday is the first Monday of November, and tomorrow being the first. But the first being week, so we're all kind of looking forward to Monday. I do think potentially an all-time high next week. I'm going to put it out there. I just feel it in the air. I feel like there's too many shorts and not enough longs, which usually means the market makers take it one way, and that way is the path of most pain. And the path of the most pain is to all the people out there, the James Wins of the world that are short. They're going to get wrecked next week, and they're going to come in and take that money, and then potentially they might push this thing to 135, 140 by mid-November. That's kind of where I'm thinking before the alts really start to take over and move really, really quickly. We're going to get into Spark. So Spark Launchpad, very bullish on Spark, very bullish on the Lightning Network L2 that, the Spark Flashnet guys are creating. And I think they're building on top of the Lightning Network. That's kind of how it works. We can get into that a little bit later as well. But they have a Launchpad right now on Luminex and UTXO.fun, and they haven't been able to keep it open longer than an hour, but there is a lot of momentum there, in my opinion. You have to remember when Base first dropped, there was only really meme coins, and then until you got some of the DEXs that dropped. And I'm kind of thinking in the same way there's people going to want exposure to Spark and what they're building with this amazing build off the Lightning Network. And what it usually happens is they kind of get into the top 5 meme coins. But what are the top 5 meme coins? We're going to break them down for you guys today and so much more. I really am excited for the show. I'm really excited to have my partner back as well. So let's bring him up here. My partner, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
What's up, man? It was rough not having you yesterday. I makes you appreciate it a little bit more. But how are you doing on this on today?
Doing good, man. There's I think there's some things to be, positive about, right? Obviously, Bitcoin's price action looks way better than it did yesterday. But I try not to get too ahead of myself with that because every time we do, it turns around. But it is the end of the month. Typically, Fridays, end of the month, but it's white paper day. It's Halloween. Like you mentioned, you and I pre-show prepping, we just saw like just the stark disparity between how many people are pouring into the shorts versus the longs, and that's what the market makers want, right? Especially if they're going to go into a up only season, you got to flush out what's out there, right? And so I'm excited to get October over with, but maybe we have a good last day of the month, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to stay optimistic about that.
Yeah, 100%. And the one thing you said is today is Bitcoin's 17th anniversary of the white paper. And what that was Satoshi. He first put that white paper out there. That is the same white paper that is in the White House. We have the white paper on the wall in the Oval Office that Trump put up this year. And what he created is something that will live forever, and an ecosystem that will make a lot of people rich, especially in my opinion, over the next 6 to 12 months, because a lot of the bigger companies in the world are moving to an on-chain economy, which means they're going to be using the rails of crypto to kind of process all transactions in the future. And looking back, to this October 31st, when he put that white paper out, I don't even know if he knew it was Halloween. He was probably just like head down coding, was like, oh crap, yeah, today's Halloween. And then he put that out. And then we January 6th or January 8th was the day that it officially went live, and Hal Finney jumped on and started. I think Hal Finney has a post. I think it might be 2 days after Satoshi officially launched it, where he says running Bitcoin, and that was like the first ever Bitcoin post on X.
Yeah, whether he did it intentionally or not, I think it is pretty cool that it was on Halloween, right? It's something that you can't really forget, even if you aren't like a Bitcoin historian, right? Just because Halloween, you're like, oh yeah, that's Bitcoin white paper day. So, yeah, pretty cool. And you talked about the Bitcoin ecosystem and a lot of people benefiting from that. You and I, obviously, we have gratitude towards like the Bitcoin ecosystem because that's how we kind of grew, right? Our brand, but it has been dormant in terms of the new innovative stuff. But then you got Spark coming along, so maybe that's something that can really spark that ecosystem as well. But obviously, the other stuff, the maxis and stuff, making out like a bandit, especially with these Bitcoin, borrowing against your Bitcoin and then staking your Bitcoin stuff. So yeah, definitely a lot of people benefiting from that ecosystem in general.
Yeah, man, for sure. And one thing about Spark, we're gonna dig in heavy here, but one thing about Spark is just like, for me, it's just something new. When something is new, I get excited about it. Same thing with Fractal, same thing with Merlin when it first came out. I'm still very bullish on Merlin, but even more than before. But back then, it was new, it was hot, right? And we had Hoo Cat, and then with Fractal we had Glizzy. But just know, like, these ecosystems, they're fun in the beginning, and they can get to the point of boredom, or they can succeed like no other, like we've seen with Odin. Right, same thing. I consider Odin an L2, right, and over Bitcoin, because it is dealing with runes, and we see that ecosystem with a $400 million token. I mean, it's bigger than any token in L1. So for me, I'm kind of like, all right, you have David Marcus, PayPal, Facebook, Libra. You know what I mean? Building a payment network on Bitcoin. His son Ethan wants to build the swap with Flashnet. You have some of the best devs over there. They're pulling devs out of Magic Eden. That have built on Bitcoin for a long time now, and they're really putting their heads down and they're building this. Yes, it's not going perfect. We are having an hour on, 24 hours off, an hour on, but this is something brand new that no one has ever tried before. It's not like a fork of anything, right? This is just they're building on top of Lightning. So I think it's pretty remarkable at this point.
Yeah, and you have to remember, in the very beginning, you're going to have your hiccups, right? And then once they get that fixed and smooth, it's going to be a way better experience. You see that even if you go back to whenever Solana first launched, right? They were dealing with this kind of stuff. Ethereum too, back in the very old days, right? And then Odin had hiccups in the beginning. So it's more about like what the potential is and can you get there? And I think that's why people stay interested in it. You know what I mean? And it's new as well to like a lot of these trenchers that have been having issues getting runners on Solana and BSC lately because, you know, the liquidity has just been really drenched, right? Or like, you know, pulled out and people been getting wrecked and all that stuff. So what this does is to them, they're like, okay, this is the beginnings of this ecosystem. We can get in some of these tokens early, not financial advice to anybody listening, but that's just, I think, the mentality. And that's why you're seeing some of these soul trenchers kind of say, okay, let's see what, and they're the ones complaining a little bit saying, you know, why is it down, up and down? Because they're used to like lightning speeds, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, like the Bitcoin degens are kind of like, hey, just chill. Like we saw the potential. We want to see this come back. So just, you know, just chill. So it's an exciting thing for sure. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, and from my experience, I played in both of them the entire time. Right, the day one was just buy. Day two was just sell. Right, that's kind of what happened. But a lot of people realize that if Flashnet goes down again, that their Bitcoin is stuck there unless it's in Bitcoin. Right, you can send the tokens out, but you can't swap. Like if you wanted to right now, you can't swap beta for Bitcoin right now. You have to wait. So I think a lot of people were just worried about getting their money stuck in there again, and it did. It's down for another 24 hours. They're saying it does look like the launch is going to be today. I'm hoping it's going to be around 6 p.m. because that's kind of how they've launched the last two. And they've launched it, I think it was Tuesday at 6 p.m. and then yesterday at 6 p.m. and I'm thinking it's going to be again today at 6 p.m. But we'll see. But let's kind of get into the top 5 tokens. And so none of this is me telling you guys to buy these tokens. These are just my reflections of the past, 72 hours of like what is happening. And the main reason we're doing the top 5 is because we do know the top 5 meme coins on Base when Base first started, one of them being Brett. They all ran really hard because people want exposure to that ecosystem in the early days, and getting Brett for under $1 million and stuff like that really made portfolios exciting back then. And we feel like, what they're building with Spark could be very similar to the early days of Base. I'm not saying it's going to be anywhere near what Base is today, but at the very early days of something special, and that's what Spark could be. So that's kind of why we're breaking down the top 5 tokens of this ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing that's coming out of this whole thing is Flashnet, in my opinion, because it's almost kind of like Bob Bodley actually stated it this way. He said Flashnet is kind of like a bolted on programmability, and it is, right? So without Flashnet, Spark is really kind of just a fast L1 type of experience, right? And that's why you can trade those tokens the old way on those other platforms on Spark. But with Flashnet, what it does is it adds that programmability, the smart contract programmability. And so they get that steady. I think Flashnet is probably going to get tons of investment into it eventually because it can travel. It can travel, with that tech, they can put that in different areas. And people probably were like, well, can it go on L1? Probably, but it won't be that same fast speed because you still got to wait on blocks and stuff like that. But I'm excited and bullish on Flashnet. But we do have a super chat, and I just want to throw this in there real quick. Stan, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. You are a G. He says, with the channel mind sharing, the indicators being used to decide between a short or long-term hold, and what will Agent Hustle offer with the Hedera Hashgraph partnership? Do you want me to start this off, or do you want to kick it off?
Well, we're gonna get an Agent Hustle really a lot at 12:30. So should we just wait till 12:30 kind of for that part of it? Yeah. But the mind share and the indicators are being used to decide between short and long term hold. I would say for me, it's the team. It's like that's how you decide if this is a trade or if this is an investment. If you can kind of look at the team and say, okay, the CTO is amazing. In your words, I think cracked out, right? So, and then, or cracked, and then, is the CEO making himself available? Are they out there? Are they doing spaces? Are they doing YouTube shows? And for me, that is the difference between a long-term hold of a project and a long-term hold of, maybe an investment. And then the other one is just a trade, where, I'm going to hold this until January, February, and then just be done with it. Right. So that's really it. It's all about the team. It's all about like how much the team is pushing forward and what they're building.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said there. The only thing I would add on top of that is I think there's a spectrum of risk. You got to think about where we are in our market. You have the OG blue chips that you can feel more safe and comfortable saying, okay, oh, maybe, you know, if you got BNB at like that $700 early summer, and then you're like, okay, I just feel like things are heating up. I think that would be like an indicator because it's a blue chip, you got CZ, those kind of things that you feel very safe on. Then you got the mid tier, which I feel like, you know, the speculative type of things, and it ranges from anything that's newer, even like Hyperliquid a little bit, the safest probably in that group, all the way to something that like is the CEOs there and all these things, but they're new. They have a new product, right? And then you go to the end of the spectrum, which is Memecoins and things like that, which to me, I think those, like, until we have strong like signs that we are in risk on, full on risk on, those are going to be the quick trades type of situation. Right. So hopefully that helps. Obviously not financial advice, but you already know that, Stan, and we appreciate the super chat. And we're going to get deep into Hustle once we got our guy, Chris, coming on later.
Yep, for sure. All right. Let's kind of dig into exactly what Sparks is bringing to the table at this point. So this is the launch pad here. This is luminex.io. So from my understanding, and let me know if I'm right. So the swap, that's all Flashnet, right? So when you're going in here and you're swapping, this is Flashnet. This is basically Uniswap. That's what Flashnet's bringing to the table, correct?
Yes. They bring it on that programmability of being able to do the calculations and smart contract programmability. Yep.
Gotcha. And then, you know, obviously this is all Luminex doing everything right here. And then when you're swapping them in and out, you're swapping them on Flashnet. Let's kind of get into the top 5 here. And my top 5 might be different from yours. So I'll just give mine first. I really like Beta. I think Beta is going to be probably my number 1 here, just because of the fact that it was the first token. If you go to graduate it, and if you go to I like oldest first, you can kind of get them in order of oldest first here. And I just see that, in my opinion, Beta being, if you look up here, is that cat, right? Beta cat. So that's kind of like Luminex's thing. And I do think this is going to be the one that's actually an investment. For me, this could be the Brett, right? I don't know that for sure. It could be the other one. And my number 2 is Soon. I think I like Soon as a short-term play because look at this down here, Flashnet, Soon, right? That's kind of reason why I'm kind of saying that Soon is my number 2, is because it's and I got a really cool symbol. I like it, and the Flashnet team seems to really like it too. They keep putting out Soon, right? So it's kind of like that. So for me, Beta Cat, Soon are my 1 and 2. I think these 2 are going to be around for a long time when it comes to investments, and then the rest for me are just kind of trades, right? My number 3, I like Pixel because it's kind of my play there for the UTXO.fun. I could have said Milton, but like Pixel seemed to have a lot of leverage yesterday, and it could be another token that just pops up out of nowhere. But Pixel, for some reason, apparently businessman.eth was showing it or something. I don't really know, but I think number 3 for me is Pixel, and so 3 could be Dragon as well. I do like Dragon a lot. But I think Dragon for me is probably my number 4 right now because, you know, I do have a lot of exposure to Luminex already with my 1 and 2. So I'm going to go with my 4 being Dragon. I do like Dragon a lot. And I think that it's going to be something, you know, it's going to be something around for a long time. I don't see this one actually kind of going away. And then finishing it all off, right, I'm probably going to have to say that the next one would be HODL. Just because of the market cap. I'm not in this one at all. And I'm kind of like looking at this kind of like, okay, it's HODL, right? So, I mean, how can you go wrong with HODL, especially in the Bitcoin ecosystem? So I'm kind of looking at that as my top 5, but I would love to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, and yesterday, unfortunately, I was traveling, and so I didn't get to participate in the hour of madness that was happening. But, you know, I do see some of these newer ones and stuff that, you know, are about to bond or did bond and stuff like that. But one thing about HODL is, that, you know, all the tokens contracts that deploy from Luminex end in HODL. If you look over there. So that is something I think that might have some energy with it as well. Also, it's like a sneaky one, you know, kind of being overlooked a little bit. And all of a sudden you look in the corner of your eye and you're like, holy crap, it's at like 600,000. That was like the other day, right? So, but yeah, so I'll start off kind of with Beta Cat as well. And guys, you guys already know, because we've talked about Spark the past couple of days. This is the very beginnings of like probably the most risky area in our space that we just talked about on the spectrum. So, you know, when Shizzy says investment, he's talking about because we're early, those are probably the most solid in his mind to be able to be able to sleep at night and say, okay, this probably won't go to zero type of
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And that's the difference between investment and trade. An investment for me is not something I don't look at. Like I don't look at the price of Hustle every day, but I will look at the price of like anything I buy. I buy shitcoin wise, right? So it's like, but yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Beta, I think Beta has that opportunity to be in a similar situation to Odin Dog. In the Bitcoin ecosystem, there's one saying that actually holds true that doesn't necessarily carry over to other ecosystems. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But with the Bitcoin ecosystem, it seems to carry up that saying a lot more. And that's first is first, right? And so with Beta being that first to graduate over here in this area, and it being the beta mascot of the beta version of Luminex, I think there's just a lot that could happen there. Nothing's guaranteed in this space specifically in this area, but yeah, that would be my number one. And then Soon would probably be my number two as well. I do agree. I think everybody in this, Flashnet, Spark ecosystem, including some of the degens a lot of the degens that are participating are really jumping on the Soon bandwagon. But it could be one of those that, does really well and then, pulls back quite a bit, maybe after like the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I could see this going to something like, 10, 15, something like that $1 million market cap. But, obviously that's complete speculation, but the energy's there. That's why, right? And then it pulling back, but who knows what the long-term play could be there. And then I do like Dragon as number 3. I feel like, but it could go either way. Right, because it could be a little bit of a psyop. It does seem like the East kind of started this token, but when I feel like in the very beginning of a token that the East is backing, if there's too many Westerners in it, they don't necessarily like that. So that's where it could flip. That's where it could flip, right? And then, the next two are going to be a little bit difficult for me because I feel like I didn't get to participate yesterday, but something like Pizza might, it does have that, but there's too many Pizza tokens already in the Bitcoin ecosystem. You have a BRC20, you have the Pizza Ninja one for the Rune. Bitcoin Cult's also interesting just because it has the cultish in there. I don't think Mem has a chance just because it's already a Rune and you're not going to rebrand that. So, the next two I think is going to be a little bit of a toss up, right? I need to see a little bit more. One that's sneaky is also Pi. There's a lot of holders there. You kind of brought that to my attention. And it hasn't stretched. It hasn't come out of the stretch yet to graduate. Also, the BKTN is obviously the token standard up there. But I have a feeling one of these from the East, if it's not Dragon, they're going to get one that's just like dormant for a while. And they're going to be like, all right, guys, you ready? And then they're going to do what they did on Odin.fun. And that was like, take it from $90,000 to 8 million within like a 3-day stretch. Right. And it's so sneaky and it almost kind of isn't appealing to Westerners in terms of the title of the token. That's just how they do. I mean, you have the largest market cap on Odin.fun called, was CryptoBurg, CryptoBurg, which is short for Crypto Burger, right? So when a Westerner sees that, they're like, there's no way in hell that's going to do well. Well, it's at $400 million market cap, right? So that's the difference with the East, man. They don't play whenever they really want to go into something to really pump something up. So that's kind of my breakdown. I still have those last two kind of undetermined right now. Need to see a little bit more action, which hopefully I get to today.
Yeah. And you mentioned Pi, and obviously with the 820, I mean, this has more holders than
any of them.
Wow,
right?
Mill has 1,000. I didn't know. So Mill's bundled as well. Holy crap! But it has more holders than Beta, right? And which kind of tells me that it is bundled. With 31,000, you're gonna tell me 820 people own what $20 of this? I don't think so. But so you can't like say, oh, it's bundled. This isn't Solana. So what happened over on Odin.fun, and I'm using my experience Odin.fun over on this as much as I possibly can. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm not going to get out of tokens because they're bundled anymore, especially because we do know the Pi over there was the same exact way. It started off with like nothing, and then it went to something crazy with like, $4 or $5 million market cap, right? So if this is sitting at 31, this is, potentially a 100x. So you throw $100 at it, potentially this thing could be, a few grand. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. just to kind of look at the stuff, what happened on Odin, and kind of use my experience there to kind of use this. And that's kind of why I'm so bullish on beta, because we do know Odin Dog was the first token over there. It ran to $30 million. Think about it. Day one, Odin Dog, you could have got it for 200, I think like 500K. And then day two, when Odin went down for whatever reason it came back even stronger. And then it was like 500K. And then the thing went to 30 million. So for me, I'm looking at this as if it's Odin Dog. We see Farmer Joe tweeting about it. Farmer Joe, this is the only one that he said is actually an investment. So for me, Farmer Joe's in this one, right? Farmer Joe was an Odin Dog. So it's one of those things where I'm kind of looking and kind of trying to see the future here. I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong using past data, I'm okay with being wrong as long as it's educated in the bets I'm making.
Yeah. You're trying to find the correlations of what happened in the beginning days of Odin, because it is a similar kind of approach, right? And launch, Odin was down a couple times in the very beginning as well, and stuff like that. Milt, I will say, is a sneaky, gets an honorable mention there. It's a little, first of all, it's the most degen one out of all of them. I mean, if you look at the guy, the character, and it just feels like puppets and that kind of vibe, right?
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
It just feels like that. And so I feel like it's a sneaky, once, Spark has that continuous smooth, like, okay, uptime from Flashnet and stuff like that. This is something that I think could really, burst out later down the road once, once people aren't really, because there is a lot of holders. I feel like it's there's more like probably inner groups that are in that. That's why I think the number is up a little bit more, but they're probably not wanting a ton of attention for the market cap right now, but who knows? That's something that maybe pops later down the road. So honorable mention with Milt, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Would you say Milt's your 4 then?
Probably, and I'd probably throw maybe just a little bit at it, because I was in that and I did flip it just for transparency for a little bit in the very beginning. So yeah,
100%. And you guys can follow my account over here. I'm fully transparent, Shizzy OnChain, but just remember, none of this is like, I'm not like, just because I have I have 4 million beta doesn't mean I'm not gonna like sell it down to buy something else later, right? So just be sure that I'm not shilling any of these tokens. I'm just letting you guys know what I'm kind of into. And beta cat, I have about 4 million, soon I have 1 million, and I'm just picking up some stuff here. Just to have. Pi, like I said, I have $140 of it. Mill, I have $100 of it. So I'm being fully transparent with you guys, and you guys can go find me over here, Shizzy OnChain, and you guys can find everything I'm doing. I bought a little Yes. So these are the ones I'm down on. I threw about $50 at a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm up a lot on obviously Pi, Dragon, and some of these other ones. Bird with Hat. I don't know why I bought this one, but I'm up 33 cents on Bird with Hat. Yes was another one. I'm down a little bit on that. Sparkling Water, I'm down a little bit. When Lambo. I actually like this as a meme. I hope this does well. What do you think about When Lambo as a meme? I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of the culture of the trenches, right? And so it seems like you started to use a little bit of the spray and pray mentality a little bit, which is fine as long as you're doing like little bits of everything. So
exactly. I'm throwing $50, and if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. I just need one of them to do really, really well, and it makes up for all the losers. So but yeah, man. All right, let's jump into some other more Flash stuff. So Flash did $3.8 million in 24-hour volume over that. So in that 1 hour yesterday, they knocked out $3.8 million in volume. That's insane for something this small with market caps of like 800K. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a success, right? And I started to see some posts come from the Spark account, or like I think it was David Marcus. So he's the father of Ethan Marcus, which is the founder of Flashnet, and that connects with Spark, right? And so he said, after he started to see the volume, he put a post out and said, it took me some time to be convinced that you need DeFi volume for a payments ecosystem to have success. And he's like, I'm seeing it right now kind of situation. So to me, that's bullish, because what's happening is he's the big name right behind Sparks. He's the biggest name behind Sparks. He has the biggest network of lots of capital. So he's the one that's going to be convincing people to say, hey, invest into this infrastructure. Look what we're doing in terms of volume on just a tease, an hour. Imagine if we did 24 hours or et cetera, right? So I think that's a bullish sign to see those metrics. And then, let's see where it goes, right? Because obviously this is the early days. I think there's excitement. I'm curious of how today's going to roll out.
Yeah, I'm hoping they go live today at 6. I mean, they did it yesterday. I can't imagine, like, it was an hour. I can't imagine we broke too much yesterday that they have to fix. But we will see. We will see what happens today. And then, so this is the update. He basically said devs are heads down grinding away at the issues we saw today on Spark. Flashnet will remain in maintenance modes today. We will provide advance notice before bringing it back online. Appreciate your patience as we finalize upgrades. And I got the 24 hours from this guy, some Raisin Boy. Is that his, or Summer Asian Boy?
Some Asian,
Summer Asian. Okay. So he basically said here, he put out this post and he's like, hey, while we're patiently waiting to get back online, he does this little game or whatever. But then right underneath that, he goes, also forgot to mention time frame, let's say the next 24 hours. So this was around, I want to say 6:45 yesterday. I could probably get the exact time 13 hours ago. So I'm expecting it to kind of go live potentially in the next, 11 hours from now, which would be tonight. I'm hoping for 6 p.m. again, because that is kind of what they originally were kind of putting out there. 6 p.m. Every launch was at 6 p.m. So, and we'll see. And 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is what I think they said their Pacific time. So for them, that's about 3 p.m. for them. So that's kind of when they're kind of at their peak form, I guess you would say. But yeah, kind of looking forward to seeing this kind of go live again.
Yeah, I'm excited as well.
And then Udi actually had a tweet here. Not the biggest fan of Udi, but he is right on this aspect. He says, seeing people complaining about Spark averaging 30 minutes of uptime per week. Thoughts? Show me a network you built from scratch that is working better. So many people are complaining about it's bullish. He's basically saying that it's bullish that people are complaining. I mean, it is, because we're only complaining because we want to play. It's like you're letting us into this playground, this amazing playground that you bought. And you're getting mad. You're like letting us play for 45 minutes and then kicking us out. And then, I mean, obviously we're going to bitch about getting kicked out, right? Like, and he said in 30 minutes, it had more volume than Runes had all year. So I'm kind of with Udi on that. I was a big proponent of Runes going into it, but I just, even because Runes just are depending on exchange listings so much that I think the core, like philosophy is gone with it. It's just these boring tokens, that have, these founders like Leo and Bongo and stuff like that. They're doing a great job, but these communities aren't forming around them doing it. I mean, with Dog, you have Vincent and a couple other people and Dan from Cardano, but it's just not enough. You're just not seeing the growth of the community like I expected originally. And it does feel very botted. The dog community feels very botted. I'm not saying anyone's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying it feels very botted, because a lot of the accounts with the comments, they don't have no blue check marks or anything like that. And that, to me, that's kind of shows that it's being paid for. Maybe, I don't know. That's just kind of my guess.
Yeah. So with the Runes ecosystem, the thing is that a lot of them are kind of rooting for Spark as well. You can see like Bongo is doing that, and a lot of people. And I think it's because they realize that, liquidity has left the Bitcoin ecosystem, and that's the problem. At the end of the day, you have to remember the people that are pushing the Solana and BSC ecosystems. There's bigger players behind the scenes that make that action continue. By the way, it's not just retail players all the time, right? But with Runes, it's hard to really get that, because the action is not the same. It's not that it's like, having a very like 80 years and up casino, you know what I mean? Like as the dealers, so I say that because it's like, that's how slow Bitcoin works. And the people behind the scenes that have that much, that can create that type of interaction and action in general, they don't believe that people will be interested in that, and that's why they're not doing it for the Bitcoin ecosystem right now, in my opinion. But with Sparks, that changes, I believe, right? And so I think that a lot of these Runes people, because Sparks has said, hey, look, we welcome the Runes community. There's bridges for Runes and all these things, so you can be able to do things with Flashnet, probably with those. But right now the interest is making sure that it's a success. I think that's what people want. And I think Leo, I think Bongo, I think everybody's rooting for Spark right now.
Yeah.
And
I think, yeah, it doesn't seem that way. I don't think Leo's rooting for them at all, honestly. I think he's a little jealous because like I put out like a post, like an engagement farming post, and he got really upset. He got really upset at my engagement farming.
Well, I think it was more of the fact that the comment that you made about the L1 side, not the, you know, I don't think he was trying to go at Spark with that. It was more of the, you know, your opinion on the L1 side being dormant and probably going away or whatever. So I don't think we can connect the two, but what we can say is that like he obviously is very, you know, protective of like, you know, the Runes protocol and stuff like that right now.
Yeah, and his biggest thing was he hates businessman.eth, and businessman.eth is, you know, one of the, I guess you would say bigger voices in the Spark ecosystem. I want to say he's more than that. He is one of the builders over there with UTXO.fun as well. And, you know, that's what they said. Him and Lofio, I think his name is, they were both just kind of clowning on businessman. And, you know, businessman, he's very, I don't know the right word for it.
Controversial.
Yeah, very controversial. I like him. I personally like them. I kind of like the controversial people because they're entertaining. I'm here to be entertained. Like if I wanted a job, I'll go get a job. But I'm here on Twitter, check in on Twitter, and I want to be entertained by people. I want to see craziness. I want to see, you know, some people just
WWE.
Yeah, I want to see WWE on the timeline all the time, right? Because it's fun. That's why I'm in crypto, because it's fun. And you know, you can make money too. So why wouldn't you want to do that kind of stuff? So I like the controversial people. You know, I kind of see a lot of the times when they're trying to be controversial on purpose, because that's something that I try to do as well. And you kind of see it on the timeline. And like Udi's somebody's very controversial, right? He tries to FUD everything that even his own project sometimes, right? He's been FUDding runes for over a year. So it's one of those things where it's and he does really well. With that engagement farming. I mean, every post is just like, you know, absolutely insane because he's so, you know, one way or the other. And I like that. I like that about people.
Yeah, it definitely keeps the space interesting for sure.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Any last words on Spark before we move on here?
Let's see what happens today, right? I'm going to be in there trying to play if I can catch that time period, that window, and we'll see if it continues. And I'm sure there's going to be some fixes still that are going to need to be happened. But it's more about like, you know, having the patience of, you know, having Flashnet be like very consistent over a long period of time, because that changes the entire landscape of the ecosystem. Yeah,
no, I couldn't agree more. I'm really excited for it. You know, I'm gonna keep playing, keep trading, keep messing around. Every time it opens, I'm gonna be there. You know, I want to be somebody who I want to be a bigger voice in Spark. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, especially for a lot of people. If you're out there and you're like, hey, you know, I want to be a part of crypto. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in Spark if you want to build there, if you want to build communities there. I just think it's such an early ecosystem, especially with David Marcus being, you know, PayPal, Facebook, Libra, and now, you know, his son Ethan really kind of taking what they've built over, you know, the course of time with Spark and actually adding programmability and swaps and stuff. I love it. I love that it's a family type of event too with David and Ethan, and I'm here for it. Yep. And shout out to SBI 420. This is another token, the Satoshi Bitcoin Index. Check SBI, buy and retire. Yeah, I mean, hey, I appreciate the comment, brother. I appreciate the comment. Keep them coming. I don't chill too hard much, though.
Did he chill that hard, though? I don't know. Buy and retire?
Buy and retire, I mean. All right, well, let's get into Bitcoin here. So this is the Bitcoin monthly returns. We show this every single month because it's entertaining to us. September, obviously up 5%. October down 2% as of right now. So I did get the actual number for September. It was closed at 114,048, so just above 114. And right now, Bitcoin is just above 110. Yeah, just above 110 there. But what's your take on this, man? How do you think this is going to end? Do you think we end up getting green in the next 8 hours?
I mean, we are green for the day. In
not
getting
for the
above
month,
one,
but yeah,
no, yeah, not for the month. I think it's going to be pretty tough. You know, getting back above 110, I think was the first step, right? But can we have a continuation here? That is the question, right? So if we kind of do a complete reversal, we could get there. That would take us to like 116. But that's going to be challenging, right? In my opinion. So I think it could be a close race, but I need to see a little bit more of this uptrend before I can feel like we have a shot.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm thinking, we finished I think we finished in the red. I'm thinking we finished just above where we're at now, maybe 10,400, somewhere right there. I think that's very fair for the rest of today. So there's something that concerns me a little bit though. Obviously, as you see right here, negative 2.7. The last time we were red in November was 2018, and we were red, and the next month was pretty bad, right? Are you concerned about that? Potentially having a red October leading into a red November.
Not necessarily. The 2018. Well, 2025 isn't definitely not a typical bull run year. 2018 was kind of like the back half of the bull run for that cycle. I think this year is just in kind of an anomaly, right? Like it's different. It's you and I both have experience with cycles, right? And the hardest thing I think that we've tried to do this year is to roll the game plan out and say, okay, we're pretty sure this is going to match somewhat up with this at this time period. And it's just been the only thing that's been consistent in that is Bitcoin. And even Bitcoin has been, it's a different feel with Bitcoin. It's like Bitcoin doing its own thing. And, the first half of the year different from the second half so far, so it's going to be hard. I think we kind of got to throw a little bit of the history out of the only thing I think we can maybe hope for is that kind of Santa rally in some sort of a sense, right?
Yeah.
Because that's pretty consistent even in non-bull run years, right? You're still seeing some sort of like thrust up and during the holiday season. So that's where my mindset is.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I kind of see it kind of being like, probably like more like 2014 in the sense of, maybe red, maybe get some green there, but I don't know. I would love to see a 33% positive in November. I think we can get that. 33% positive would put Bitcoin at around 150 in November. I think that's possible, dude. I really do. Am I just being crazy saying we can hit 150 in November?
I mean, when it's green, it's green. If you look at you had 37% last year, 8% in 2023, but that's whenever it was trying to recover still from the 2022 onslaught, right? And then you go back to 2020, 42%, 2017, which was a bull run year, 53%. So a lot of times if it is green, it's pretty aggressive. So yeah, I think there's a shot, especially if we have a red October, if we finish red, so yeah, I think we got a shot for 100%. Something intense. We'll see.
Let's take a look at Ethereum while we're sitting here. Ethereum back-to-back red months after 2 insane months. July up 48%, August up 18%, September down 5%, October looking to finish around 7%. What are you thinking for November? I'm actually thinking Bitcoin can hit 6,500, 7,000 in November.
Ethereum for November, 65.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be a pretty strong thrust up, but that's with 2 consecutive red months.
Yeah.
I think there's a shot for something aggressive as well. Tom Lee's probably if Bitcoin's running, Tom Lee's going to be all about being on CNBC and all these things. I mean, he already does that even in the down months, but he'll be even more hyper aggressive with that, right? So, I think there's a shot. Look, I mean, I think there's a shot for both in the entire market to have some sort of a Santa rally. The alts is the one that I got to see it, you know what I mean? Because it's just like we've really anticipated alts to thrive at some point, even though we've been in risk off for a while. But I mean, I don't know. The Santa rally, what is it going to look like? Hopefully it's not just blue chips, but we'll see. And then also, what does the Fed do? Do we get more? We get some hints, maybe we get a little bit easing. I don't know. Right now, it's just it's going to stop on December 1st is what they said. So maybe December is the month for alts.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think, right now, I think November is going to be really big for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then we're going to get potentially 15 to 30 new ETFs. I mean, we got 3 so far, non-Ethereum Bitcoin ETFs, meaning Litecoin, Hedera, and Solana. I think we get about 15 to 30 new ones coming out. I don't mean I see maybe like 6 Solana ones and for this one, right? I don't think there are going to be 16 different assets, but I do see XRP, I see Doge, I see a couple of these other ones kind of really getting maybe even Hyperliquid getting any ETF probably in the second, third week. We do need the government shutdown to end. I think that's something that is something we need to happen here to kind of get Bitcoin's price to kind of really start moving. But I think that happens here in the next week or so. So, but yeah, any last words on this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We need that shutdown to. We need to open the government back up and kind of change the sentiment around, and maybe we can have a decent finish to the year.
Yeah, man, 100%. My man Plan B put out his monthly tweet here, and this is his chart, and he basically says here. Let me actually read what he says. He says, only constant human action is greed, is greed and fear. The in this chart, RSI color overlay, in my opinion, greed is greed, and red will return. He's basically saying, that's the RSI. So greed is when the RSI is red. Scarcity is fundamental driven driver of value together with other factors. Bitcoin is scarcer than gold. In my opinion, Bitcoin market cap will be bigger than gold. And this is kind of his stock to flow chart. This is something he created in 2017. And these lines right here have hit pretty much every single time. And we know last year he had his target a little higher than this, but this year, again, he has his target around between 5 and 700K. But look at this though. It's just been yellow and green. I mean, very similar to what we've seen here. Actually, almost identical to what we've seen here, just a lot longer of it. And he's kind of saying, hey, we're going to get this soon. We're going to get this, and Raul Powell calls it the banana zone. We're going to get that very soon and potentially could take us to 300, 400, 500K, maybe even 700. Maybe he's right about that, but you're going to need nation states to kind of start purchasing. But what do you think about his chart right now?
Well, I'm interested to see how long this stretches out for, because it's obviously the longest that we've seen. Mm-hmm. If you look at, I guess that middle period in between, but the wild part is, I guess that would be like just a really stretched out from cycle to top to cycle top, right? Yeah, I mean, look, I look at this and I say, it looks like about at least 75 to 80% of that journey is probably completed. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, we probably start to see that rise up. Right. But it also tells me it's pretty a unique cycle that we're in right now. I mean, yes, that one in that stretch between 2014 to 2018, that was interesting too. But you got to remember too, like I bought Bitcoin for the first time in 2013. My friend told me about it at work. And I was like, what is this? Okay, well, this has already gone up too much. It's at like $700. I'm going to sell this into some. I already started thinking about degenerating that, which they had tokens, right? But then I saw those other tokens not really do anything because the run up had already happened with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So I just like, okay, I forgot about like crypto for a while, right? So then you think about that stretch. So, but then the rise up of 2017 was very like explosive. Yeah, I remember that very clearly. Yeah. And so I'm hoping that mimics that, because that's the closest stretch that I'm seeing in this whole data that we're looking back. You could go all the way back to 2011 and where it starts. So, maybe a more intense rise up than 2017, because this is a little bit more elongated than that stretch from 2015 or 2014 to 2018.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm saying, obviously this is like 6 months, right? From here to here. I see this happening. I see this is, let's just say we start getting this in November. I think we see a 36% rise in Bitcoin. And I think, December, January, February, and March could be this, even April. And then maybe top out in April. And I'm potentially saying, hey, April, May is my target, is my take profit zone for me. I'm really going to be looking, obviously, if we haven't ran, that's different. But if we're up, a crap ton, I think for me, April, May, and maybe even a little June will be my DCA out approach. And I think that we're going to be up at numbers that are going to be shocking to a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's going to be, I think, a discipline thing too, because there's going to be so many people in the space that feel like they've been starved for, wins. And then once you start to get those wins, let's say like in Q1 of next year, you gotta be really disciplined to take that profit and say, okay, let's see, we have hit our goal for the cycle. and let's kind of sit back and see, where the market goes. You're sitting there and stable or whatever you're going to be in Bitcoin, and then you kind of watch. So I think at that time, people probably need to be the most disciplined that they have been, other than what we've gone through this year. But that's a little unfair because I think people completely were thrown off this year. So they're just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's not happening yet. Okay, now it's about to happen. No, okay, wait. A little bit more time. Okay, now it's about to happen. Every time they got wrecked, right, for the most part. Except for leverage. And that's why leverage got pretty popular, is because people could take leverage in blue chips. And they were winning. That was where they were winning some. And then the Bloody Friday happened, and they were just like, everybody's poor. You know what I mean? Everybody's poor. So, very interesting cycle. But I do think, like, that there's going to be that opportunity. I feel pretty strong about that. And at the end of Q1 next year, and we have some pretty smart people that have experience in cycles, like Jake Allen and stuff, that kind of has said, that end of spring, start of summer time. So
yeah, and I'm thinking retail is going to really start entering crypto in March. I think, getting it kind of ahead of the new Fed in May, and kind of sitting there, and they're like, okay, it's time. It's go time for this stuff. But I think it's 60-70% of the gains are already lost for them at that point. I think that, we're going to be up. It's going to be so much further up when, Bitcoin goes from, let's say 110 to 160, or even like 210, 250. And Ethereum going from 5,000 to 10,000, they're going to be getting in when Ethereum's 13,000, 14,000, and 70% of the gain is already gone. Cardano is going to be probably like 250 when they're buying it and stuff like that. So a lot of the people that are getting in now, the people that are early, are going to be probably selling at that point. That's kind of what I see. Could be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But let's move along here, though. Let's kind of get into today's crypto fear and greed. It doesn't, I don't think it looks like it should be this low. I mean, this is crazy. Last week we were at 32. Yesterday we were at 34. We're not far from last week's 32. Where do you think we're at? We're down
30,
pretty much 31. This doesn't feel like we are right now. I mean, with the Bitcoin's price being 110, 33. So I don't even know if we should keep showing this, because it is always so late, and it's always, to me, my prediction is like it's so different than where we are right now. So I don't even know if it's showing still.
I think there needs to be like ongoing one that's just constantly updates, like minute by minute or whatever. But because to me, the fear and greed meter is actually a pretty strong reflection of the emotions of our space too. If you think about it, though, right? Like, because right now you're like, man, I don't feel this at all. And it's because Bitcoin swung up and got above 110 again, right? But imagine if we have a crappy second half of today, then it's kind of like, okay, now we're back to 31. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how the price action has worked for the entire space. And no one's really immune to that, by the way. Everybody kind of feels like that, right? And I think it shows in kind of our reactions to what the fear and greed meter. It's completely wrong. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's kind of like okay, well, let's see what happens for the second half of today. Because if we can keep that up, then then we'll be like, okay, we're past that 31 now. You know what I mean? So I think that's where my perspective lies on that, and it's hard. It's hard to keep looking at that.
Exactly. Let's get into the Bitcoin price action, crypto bubbles. Really kind of excited to see your view on what's going to happen today.
Let's do it. And guys, I am working with one screen, so bear with me for a split second here, but I'm going to be sharing. Can you see my screen? Oh, wait, I need to pull you down there. What about now?
Yeah, you're good. My bad. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. All right, guys, we are about to jump into the 1 hour, but before we get into the price action, help us out on the YouTube side. Smash that like for us, subscribe to the channel, all that great stuff. You guys help us out a ton, and I'm very appreciative for that. On the X side, let's share the space, guys. Let's get as many people in here as possible. All right, let's take a look here at the hour chart. You can see Bitcoin is definitely starting to rise up. We're starting this short uptrend, not a full official uptrend yet, but it's definitely kicked us off, right? Because it could kind of go sideways here, but let's hope that doesn't happen. You can see the MACD is showing a little bit of a breakdown here on the hour chart. It's starting to go back and forth, but it hasn't completely, it's not really aggressively breaking down, right? So let's see what happens here in the next hour or so, right? Let's take a look here, because in the stochastics, we've been up here for a bit as well in the overbought. Let's take a look at the support and resistance here as well at the levels that we're currently at. So at the 110, 376, it looks like we're about balanced there. So right below that, support kind of catches that. So we're looking good there. Support balance with the resistance all the way down to here. It's just the low volume area. It's still pretty close though. So nothing to worry about there. Down here at the 109, pretty much right under 110 is right at 110. Support's definitely showing some strength in this area, which is good because the volume picked up there. So that means that we have some good support levels here and really good support, even though with even more volume right below that, the 119,800. So looking pretty good in this area to kind of catch the price if it does fall. It seems like it's kind of going back and forth here. Let's look above here. So very little volume, thin liquidity up here. So if we can get some support, some large buy bids up here, we can push up there. That's the idea. So looking okay right now, honestly, for the hour time frame. Right. I am wary because it is the end of the month and it's the last day or it's a Friday, which ends the month. So whenever we start aggressive, it kind of makes me just a little hesitant. But hey, look, it's white paper day. It's Halloween. So I'm going to stay optimistic about, where we're possibly headed, because I'm getting some signs to say that we could maintain where we are and then maybe even a little bit of an uptrend continuation of what we started there. All right, taking a look at the 4 hour. The 4 hours, it looks like a pretty good setup, so that kind of gives me some confirmation of what I was talking about here. You can see the MACD is closing up, breaking down that sell pressure, right? You can see this really about to the fast line's about to cross over that orange slow line, which is a technical confirmation of switching over from sell pressure to buy pressure. So that is something to keep our eye on. We do need that continuation push up from that shorter time frame, the hour chart, and then we'll head over to overbought territory, which would be a good thing for the 4 hour, because we have been hanging down here for a while. As you can see, we've been down there since Monday, right? So all week we've been in kind of the oversold territory. So this is a good sign so far. Doesn't mean that we're going to officially get there, but it does look very close, and this looks like a very close setup as well. Be careful though, because especially lately, whenever you feel like we're about to switch momentum and going from sell pressure into buy pressure, it does flip. I'm not saying that's going to happen today at all. I mean, I still really like this setup. So let's hope that 1 hour time frame that we just took a look at for Bitcoin can really push us up and close this out and go into a buy pressure momentum session, which would be a little not necessarily the best timing. I guess the best timing would be to kind of close the month out that way, but we are heading into Saturday, which is kind of a low liquidity day. Some scalpers try to make some money that on Saturdays, but it'll be the first of the month of November, playing into a Sunday that could be explosive as well. So maybe that's what we get, and I'm hoping for that because I really do like the 4 hour setup. Let's take a look at the daily. The daily is a little bit concerning in my opinion, just because we broke down here. But if we can definitely open this back up, we can definitely see something like this happen here. Looked like we were about to close out back in July, only to open back up. I could see that happening if those shorter time frames that I just talked about really gives us a push up, right? Gives us an aggressive push up. Maybe they try to challenge the getting out of the red for October. If that happens, then I will feel like this will open back up, right? That means getting to 116, 116,000 around that area, so we can kind of end in the green. But I don't know if that's going to be, they're going to be able to accomplish that, because we do have about a $6,000 gap, but we've seen Bitcoin do more volatile upswings, right? And downswings, by the way. But yeah, so the daily, we do need to work on this a little bit. The 4 hour looks good. The 1 hour looks good. We can change that with those shorter time frames. Let's take a look here at Ethereum. Let's pull ETH up real quick. ETH, excuse me, on the hour time frame looks like it's getting exhausted a bit. So kind of a similar situation with Bitcoin, but a little bit more exhausted, it seems like. So Bitcoin breaking back up, continuing that uptrend. Of course, Ethereum's going to follow, but it is kind of being a little bit stagnant right now. You can see 38.59 while Bitcoin got back above 110. To me, Bitcoin's definitely being a bit more aggressive as we speak right now. Obviously, this is an uptrend as well. You can see uptrend right here, both of them sideways. Let's take a look at the 4 hour chart, see if we get something similar as well. Yeah, very similar situation to Bitcoin here. You could see, trying to close out that sell pressure as well. So really kind of following Bitcoin just a little bit behind it. Well, I would say a decent amount behind it in terms of the push up, but not bad. It's just a little bit more stagnant in my opinion. And then looking at the daily, it's going to be very similar situation as well, right? So the daily, broke down a bit here, but like I said, the 4 hour and 1 hour could open this back up, give us something similar to back in July. I don't know about back in July for Ethereum, because back in July for Ethereum, it was hyper aggressive. So I think it would just kind of continuously tail Bitcoin until it's time for Ethereum to kind of speed past that. And I think that would be a good indicator for maybe some alts to thrive as well. So that is Bitcoin and Ethereum for you guys on this lovely Friday. Let's take a look at the crypto bubbles here. Crypto bubbles going to the top 100. So alts are looking pretty good right now. Let's hope we can keep this momentum here. It looks like we have about a 90-10 split ratio, maybe 95-5 actually. You can see Zcash.
It's like 99. It looks like, yeah,
exactly. It's definitely
there's a couple more,
yeah. You got, I think, is this Zcash?
Yeah, that's Zcash.
Okay, Zcash. ZEC. That's threw me off the E. Okay, it's up 17% there. Obviously, privacy has been in a top category, right? That's something that maybe everybody should kind of look further into. You got privacy, you got AI, you got payments. Those have been really top three. And speaking of AI, you got Tau, which is the AI chain. It's up 18%. Shizzy's, and myself are pretty bullish on Tau, being kind of the tokenomics similar to Bitcoin. Obviously, both 21 million. They have a halving as well that's coming up. So could be a very, very bullish play here in the next couple of years, really. Obviously it could happen if there's like an aggressive bull run for alts as well. You got Aster finally rebounding. Let's see. Oh, it's rebounding on the day, but not the price, right? So still under $1, but it's up 11%. Hey, you got to start somewhere, right? And then you got Aerodrome up 10% there. Dash is up 9.6%. Doge up 2.8%. And then you got Bonk up 5.3%. Sui up 3.4%. You got Hex up 2% there. Crypto.com, Crowcoin is up 2.9%. And then you got Lido up 3% there. Near Protocol up 2.1%. Solana up only 1.7% there. Litecoin up 4%. And Litecoin was interesting because their inflows was, we can go over that later if we have time, but definitely not making a big splash yet in the ETF world. ICP up 3%, Ethereum up 2.3% there. And then you got Pump Fund up 2.3 as well. HBAR up 1.8%. Virtuals up 5.4%. AI is hot, like I told you guys. Flocky up 5% there. Render up 3.3%. Say up 5.9%. And you got Trump Coin up 3.3% there. Tron up 1.4% as they have had a lot of volume going in on their chain. Let's go over to the top 200. CoAI still taking a pullback after having a consistent push up for a while. So it has pulled back 18.2%. You got Zora pulling back 10.5%. Merlin pulling back about 2%. And then you got Pepe pulling back 13.5% there. Mix pulling back 7.5%. You got OG pulling back 7.2% there. Dog With pulling up 5.2%. Jasmine pulling up 4.7%. Barachain pulling up 3.5%. And then what else do we have in here that's sticking out? Radium pulling up 2.3%. Pulse pulling up 1.7%. ApeCoin pulling up 3%. You got RuneCoin pulling up 2.1%. RuneCoin's probably going to be in discussion of the privacy stuff, I would imagine too. So that's definitely there. And so, that's pretty much the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto bubbles for you guys.
Yeah, man, definitely looking good for today. We'll see what the rest of the weekend brings. We do know Saturday is a low liquidity environment. So, but the path of most pain, I'm going to keep saying it, is to the upside. And I'm saying that for a lot of different reasons, but in my opinion, it's the long and the shorts, right? So I found this really cool chart, and of course, up there it is, where it kind of shows you the longs and the shorts on exchanges. and right now we're about 51% short, right? So if you do look though, you see, you know, it is getting better. The longs are coming in. Me and Yagobi were looking at this morning. Gate had a 9% long. They all got wrecked, right? And then people are kind of switching right now from short to long, but it's still, oh wow, it just went 50-50. Oh, the longs are winning. So maybe I'm wrong. Look at, dude, if you're a trader and you're not using this chart to trade, I think you're messing up, because you can kind of sit here and kind of see what everyone else is doing. But wow, what a shift we just seen. So I don't know anymore what the path to most pain is.
Well, I think it's, you know, how long has that side been kind of loading up, right? For
5 minutes, yeah. I mean,
yeah. So then it might just be kind of a switch over for now, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. I think, like, you know, going into next week. Wow, now it's continuously just changing there.
The longs are coming in hot right now, which makes me think that Bitcoin's about to kind of start making a move here, when these longs kind of come in and take leverage. But who knows? But wow, 53%. What a change, dude. This morning it was like 61% short, and now we switched it back. So I wonder if we just got some bullish news or not. But yeah, pretty cool to see. I could put that link in the chat if you guys want it as well. It's just coinank.com. Highly recommend you guys taking a look at that, because I find it really fascinating, and I'll throw it in the chat for you guys. And that is it. All right. Moving along though. So Coinbase had their quarterly review, and they killed it. So according to Reuters, Coinbase reported a net income of $433 million for Q3. And then Coinbase took that money and they bought Bitcoin with it. They increased their Bitcoin holdings by 299 million in Q3 through weekly purchases, now holding like 14,000 Bitcoin, which isn't a lot. But we do know they custody a lot of Bitcoin for their people on the exchange side, and they do have the liquidity for the Bitcoin there. So they do hold a lot more, but their personal on the books amount of Bitcoin is 14,000. But what do you think about Coinbase having an insane Q3 and really not even bullish, really? I mean, you had Ethereum running, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked. You know, these are the companies that win still. You know, they're businesses, right? And so they're going to win even whenever, you know, a lot of sectors of retail are going to not, right? Because at the end of the day, they're focused on those blue chip products, right? You know, the Bitcoin staking, the Bitcoin type of lending and borrowing against your Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. So they're constantly looking for revenue opportunities and stuff like that. Obviously, you know, they want the bull run to get aggressive because more fees and stuff, but they have other ways to continuously win. And that's just how business works, you know, for well-run businesses.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the difference, right? You always will have your okay ones, and then you have your blue chips, like you said. And Coinbase, in my opinion, is a blue chip in the stock market. I feel like if you have a portfolio in crypto in the stock market, you don't have Coinbase in there, I think you're making a mistake. I think Coinbase eventually will be, in my opinion, one of the top winners when crypto does take its next leap. I think 433 million is nothing to the comparison of what they will be making. Especially from the borrowing and lending aspect, when people actually see that you can just go to Coinbase and it's really easy, real simple, and stuff like that. But let's move along here. Jim Cramer takes a photo with Solana co-founders, and Solana actually rung the bell yesterday at the stock market. So this is actually kind of cool to see. Here it is. But yeah, they rang the bell yesterday, and that's crazy. This is Solana. Like, this is pretty nuts. I guess they're not going to hit the bell. Oh well. But there he is. There it is. But anyway, you know, it does look like B-Sol is looking pretty good. It is outperforming H bar and everything. I'll get into that while I'm here. So B-Sol, basically did about $72 million yesterday in volume, with a net inflow of 36 million. So there's 36 million new shares now created yesterday. So that kind of shows you that, you know, they're definitely bullish on people coming in now. And then the other two altcoins besides ETH and Bitcoin, it was the Litecoin Canary one. And this one did about $1.5 million of volume, but no inflows or outflows. They didn't create any more shares or take any out. And then H bar had about 8 million in volume, and about 29 million new shares entered from Canary. Canary created 29 million new shares. I guess they're expecting buyers to come in for these here. But how do you feel about the ETFs so far, and especially with Solana at the stock exchange yesterday?
Yeah, it was interesting, right? I mean, Solana is obviously getting a lot of the attention, but I do think that this stat with the H bar shows that they have interest, right? It's still a good amount of interest for Hedera, and I don't, there's some others that also came in and it didn't perform nearly close to that. So Solana, though, I mean, being there, I feel like they're the next after ETH to really get that attention from TradFi.
Yeah, 100%. And they were the third ETF, right? Technically, they're the third best performing crypto ETF behind Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, and right now we do have HBAR and Litecoin. I'm actually a little shocked by HBAR and Litecoin getting passed a lot quicker than XRP and Doge. Does that shock you at all?
A little bit. I think we don't know what kind of network connections a lot of these people behind the scenes have, right? And I think that makes a big deal. Like Hedera, I think they got in because they have like a lot of corporate backing and networking and stuff like that, probably, that has, knows exactly what they need to do and all these things, get their ducks in a row. Litecoin, maybe they have, really good team that figured that out as well. But it does, some of these bigger brands and stuff. But I think it's good though for the space to spread them out a little bit. You know what I mean? Because some of the bigger ones can make bigger impacts at different times.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, I think I'm going to give you a number of how many I think ETFs are going to get approved and be in November, and you just give me like higher or lower. What do you think? So I'm going to say I think there's going to be about 15 more ETFs entering the market in November. Would you say higher or lower?
15 total in multiple for like one coin and stuff like that, right? So I would say, man, that's a really good number to kind of do, higher lower with, because I feel like, I would say probably, I'm gonna say lower because I feel like 15 is a lot. Lower.
Yeah, I agree. And we had 3 in October, right? So 15 coming in could be a little higher. I'm gonna get the other side of that. I just think that we might see 7 or 8 Solana ETFs enter, because like you can't really pick a winner. You can't say, hey, Bitwise is the winner and their ETF is going to be number 1. I think you have to let as many come in. So I'm thinking there's going to be 7, 8 Solana ETFs, and I'm almost positive we're going to see an XRP and a Dogecoin ETF enter as well, and then maybe a few more like Litecoin and maybe and that type of stuff. So, but we'll see. I'm actually excited for November and December for ETF season. I think that money's going to trickle down and get into, like, instead of people kind of holding HBAR, maybe they get into the top coin on the HBAR, and that kind of liquidity kind of sucks into each network. But we'll see. All right. So SBF is out here now trying to get a part in, and he said FTX was never insolvent. The $8 billion in customer assets owed when FTX filed for bankruptcy protection never left the platform. So I feel like FTX was screwed a little bit. I feel like SBF was listening to the wrong people. I feel like that he got scared because he saw the outflows of money that day, and he tried getting CZ to give him some money to kind of keep things going. I feel like if he would have went to his guys, Kevin O'Leary and Tom Brady and stuff like that, they would have found him the money to kind of keep that going, because they didn't want to lose their investment. They already invested a lot of money into that, and I think they're adding a little bit more to make sure withdrawals went smoothly until things got normal again, and then inflows happening. I do feel like SBF got screwed a little bit, and I feel like if that day never happened, or if he would have handled it a little better that day, he probably could have got away with using customer money. I mean, I guess. I don't know. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think he's trying to position himself, right? Which honestly is probably smart to try to start doing that if he's going to get anywhere with it. But I mean, I guess he's trying to say like he wasn't guilty of the actual thing that he got thrown in jail for. But I mean, obviously this went to court and everything, right? So But he doesn't have any other option right now, in my opinion, if he wants to try to do something. Right? He's trying to plant seeds, I think.
Yeah, I think he does get the pardon, but I don't. I think Trump's going to make him sweat it out a little bit, because I think flipping, his parents are both MIT people, right? And I think that flipping his parents, who in my opinion have a lot of say in the Democratic Party, flipping them Republican could be really good, maybe going into the primaries, right? Or maybe even going into the next election, presidential election. Maybe he makes them sweat it out for 4 years, but I do think he gets a pardon eventually. I just feel like Trump just wants to kind of clean up crypto, and I feel like doing that would just kind of be like, all right, there is no, he was, saw it, they went after him, and and that type of thing. Basically, same thing what he just did with CZ.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Plus, I think most people got made right for the most part, right? I think you can't compare this to kind of the Bernie Madoff situation, to where no one else was like really made right in that situation, from my understanding. And so it could happen. We'll see. And his parents probably are in a well-connected network as well, right? So it makes sense to try to get them on the Republican side. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, like Trump, this administration's very strategic in how they approach them. So 100%. I wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't either. I would not either. All right. Hyperliquid is still kind of killing it right now. Hyperliquid leads all chains and fees over the last 24 hours. How do you feel about, I don't know what the hell edgeX is. I got to do some damn research because I don't know what that is, but it's probably another perp DEX that people are farming. But how do you feel about Hyperliquid going forward, being, potentially a top chain in fees every single day?
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while, right? Obviously, when Master came in, they kind of skewed the metrics a bit, passing over that BNB leverage volume to Aster and stuff like that. But like they were the leader before Aster, and then now they're the leader again. So no shock there, and they do it pretty quietly, right? So
yeah,
I think that's the best way. Like if you can win silently, man, you're probably going to be in that position for a long time.
100%. And people love their product. That's the thing, right? Like you can hate whatever you want, but if you loved using the product, you're going to win. Like the people are going to win. So all right. Let's kind of get into the trenches. I'm actually excited for this because we've had some runners in the trenches. We had a couple Kit Kats run, and not the candy. That's the first. Like you messaged me over the weekend or over the week, and you're like, "Yo, there's something running. It's called Kit Kat," and I was like, "The candy?" And then you surprised me what was happening. But kind of hop into that. Let us know what is happening in the trenches right now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, actually. So there was first of all, let me kind of give a little precursor of before the Kit Kat token and stuff was running. Like the trenches is really, hard to get runners. Some forced runners happen, which are never good because they end up just going to zero or just going really low. And then on the 30th, which was yesterday, or the day before yesterday, did I message you that yesterday or the day before? Do you remember?
Might have been 2 days ago. I think it was.
Okay.
It might have been yesterday. I don't remember. Every day feels.
So I think it was the 30th though, because the anniversary of Peanut was the third. I think it was October 30th. I think it was 2024, and so it was Justice for Peanut, and so this one was Justice for Kit Kat on October 30th. So coincidence? I think not. And so it really started to catch momentum. It ran to a $4 or $5 million market cap, and then people started to get the trenches started to heat up again a little bit off of that, right? And then you basically have like some of these large accounts, like was it BitLord crypto? So he's just kind of against it because it's on Pump Fund, so he launches his own and he tries to vamp it, and next thing you know, so they're fighting both these tokens, which is the worst scenario that you want for a token that's running, by the way. It's just literally like everybody they're all poor and they just want to make some money, and so they try to vamp from each other. And then Elon tweets about Kit Kat, right? And then all of a sudden BitLord's on X saying, oh my God, like, let's get Kit Kat going. And everybody's like, well, you just ruined the original. He's like, that one's at 0. And then so that one went to 5 million. And then, but like when you vamp tokens, it's really hard to have that continued momentum because people kind of don't feel good about it, and so it's just like not. But then it's just been kind of stuck from the last time I checked in that $5 million kind of area. Now, so then that was happening on Pump Fund, and then last night. There's also been this kind of robot meta called Neo that has come out, and they were launching tokens on Pump Fund and BSC for that one. It started running, and then all of a sudden BNB's main account on X said, welcome to the BNB intern, AI intern or whatever. And so there was a token called BO, a play off of that launched last night, and it got to like 500,000. And then this morning, early in the morning, they announced that they kind of put like the software name as Binance AI intern. So then someone made a token called BAI, and it took off, and it got to like, I want to say about 3-4 million. And man, I'll tell you, some of these, so the BSC trenches were heating up at that point, right? And then the BNB accounts just posted something about like shutdown sequence initiated, power down on the intern. And I'm just like, dude, are these like big accounts like manipulating back and forth? And then it dumped from like 2 million or like 3 million to like 1 million. And so, but it's rebounding now. But my point is that it's starting to heat up. But man, I'll tell you, it's still nasty a little bit. So you got to be careful. We talked about Spark earlier. This is even more, in my opinion, risky because these are they're already there. Like you're not starting at a brand new spot to try to get some of these brand new initial runners, right? So I don't know what the BNB account's going to post next. If they're like, got you guys or whatever, but you just got to be really careful because now it's like people are probably like, what do I do here? You know what I mean? People probably felt like they had like a good, 10 million, 20 million runner with this. And now they're probably kind of like, okay, what do I do here? So it's tricky. And that's the thing about the trenches, man. You got to be like just constantly on it and just constantly checking updates and stuff like that. Because BNB comes out with a post that says, okay, like, it's back on, then this thing shoots up again. And it's just like, at that point, man, your emotions probably are telling you, hey, just go to sleep.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's to me, it's like, this is just like, it's an area. I think the runners could do good. I think the trenches could do good in a time frame where Bitcoin is just pumping, Ethereum's doing great, XRP's flying, like all these other coins, people are getting real risky. And then I feel like you can get runners. I feel like in this day and age right now of how bad everything's beaten down, to your point, everyone's broke. Like everyone making $1,000 for a lot of people right now, especially people without jobs, is huge. I mean, that gets someone going another week, right? And I think that everyone's taking profits so quickly. No one's holding for purpose right now. And that's one thing I'll give the Runes people credit for. A lot of people over there, they're just, just long-term holders of these assets. And
so force holders.
Well, technically, yeah, unless you want to sell for a loss. Yeah. Do you see that ever happening over here again? Do you ever see a runner where it can last 3-4 months again?
Ooh, 3-4 months. That sounds like an eternity now.
I know.
But I do see a time where, these type of runners can go to, we saw it with BSC, they had 3 $100 million runners in September. Yeah. So it definitely can happen. And that's whenever Bitcoin started to pick back up and be bullish again. And it seems like we could be heading into that. We are seeing Bitcoin kind of tiptoe on the line of 110 right now. It's, back below it. But, Bitcoin obviously needs to have a consistency of, okay, we're ready to turn things up again. And that's whenever whoever got into the 4 coin on BSC, really lucky because obviously this backstory is someone hacked BSC's account or BNB's account, et cetera, et cetera. Bitcoin wasn't really running at that point. So that token went to like 4 million and then it dumped. But then Bitcoin picked up the next day or so and went on an aggressive, and everybody's like, okay, things are going to get going again. And everybody jumped into that 4 coin. And that 4 coin went to like 200 and something million within like, I want to say a week. So if you can get a week of consistency from Bitcoin, then you can get some of these runners. Solana's had more trouble getting to the $100 million mark on Memecoins than BSC has, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of the reasons, though, for Solana being that way is because the snipers are just trying to, like, the Cupsies of the world. They're in and out of these tokens so quickly that these tokens cannot gain momentum. When over at least over on BNB, I feel like you have these cabal communities of people saying, "Hey, this is the token for at least the next 24, 48 hours," and these people hold. Do you see the same?
Yeah, but Axiom added BNB now, so you can say the sniper bots are here, but they are trying to add X mode into some of these 4 launchpad tokens to where the mechanisms are like anti-snipers for the first part and all these things. They're trying different things, and if anybody has the capital to try stuff to make it work, it's Binance. They can burn some money to try to see if this mechanism works for this token style and all these things. Versus like a smaller launchpad that's just trying, they're not going to be able to do that. So who knows what comes out of that X mode? It went live yesterday. The first token definitely didn't do great. It's sitting at like 52,000 now, but supposedly this BAI token came out of X mode. So there was a lot of things that people were like, okay, this BAI token is the one. It's the one that's going to be that runner. But I guess until Bitcoin has that, convincing consistency, probably won't see even a 50 million to 100 million runner. Now, PayAI is different on the Solana side because it launched like 6 months ago or something like that on Pump Fund, but it rode the X402 meta hard, right? And it was the leading token for that. So I think those anomalies, those one-offs and stuff, you got to really say, okay, why did it run like this? Because it was completely that hype that can push it there. But that's going to be an established token, not a new one.
Yeah, no, for 100%. I agree. I think that, going with the meta as well, right? So we did see X402 last week, and we talked about it Monday and Tuesday. That kind of narrative has kind of, got quiet. I wouldn't say, there's anything to fear if you're in any of those projects, because I think there's a lot of building that still needs to be done. A lot of the white papers, I said this previous in the week, a lot of white papers didn't even have X402 in it. That's how new, a lot of these commitments to X402 are. They just kind of pivoted to it because they saw the excitement and they saw potentially the innovation that it brings to the table. And, especially, that's two things that if you see in like some type of category or something, you're like, oh, wow, this is cool. When you see the excitement, one, and then you kind of see the innovation that it actually brings as well, and the excitement for that innovation. I don't know. I think that's something we're going to see more and more of. And that's when you're in a bull run, when you can constantly get from there to there. When, like, let's just say 402 is this week's thing, and then next week's thing is this next innovation, and then it kind of recycles back into 402's innovation because now you're actually showing it. And I think that's when the bull run really starts. It's just like innovation on top of innovation and news every single day of this project built this. That's a bull run for me. It's not really number go up as much as excitement coming to the market. And I actually think we saw that this week for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, the interest in those kind of things is a good sign because if the appetite is there, that's what it proves. The appetite is there, but let's get the environment to follow the appetite, and then that's when things get explosive.
Yeah, man. Let's take a look at like the categories that have done well so far. Let's go for the weekly here. Obviously, privacy again, 80% up. If you're in privacy, you're winning right now. Privacy, blockchain, and privacy. Infrastructure is another one that's up 25% this week. Zero knowledge up 24% this week. Mobile mining, something we talked about the other day, up 20% on the week. And then AI agents, obviously, up 19%. Agent Hustle was a big factor into this, and we're about to get into Agent Hustle with the team here. But Agent Hustle sitting at around, I think, like, what is it? It's probably got to be like 4 or 5 million at this point. Just did a partnership with Hedera Hashgraph. and this is something that we didn't see coming. It actually came out of nowhere. We did notice that they did put it out there that they were going to have an announcement with a partnership. I thought it was going to be just them kind of putting out Ethereum's version. We knew they were working on EVM, but no, Agent Hustle actually did 22% yesterday, and it's partnership with Hedera. This is the foundation tweeted, right? Hedera and Agent Hustle, the on-chain agent built by EmblemVault through natural language. Users can now buy, sell, and set conditional orders for Hedera tokens. We do know the conditional order is coming soon in the next couple of days, but this is absolutely massive for Agent Hustle, and in my opinion, Hedera as well. I think Hedera getting AI is going to be something that actually changes them in the future.
Absolutely. In an ecosystem like Hedera, which I played around with back in 2020, late 2022, early 2023, I think Hustle is perfect for it, right? That's kind of the mindset of the users. Like they're like a tech type of mindset user base over there. And, making things more convenient for the user is always going to be the end goal. And so in my opinion, it's going to make people want to use Hustle to get more insight on projects, because there's a lot of utility stuff that's being built over there more than the meme stuff, and their meme stuff is just kind of getting cranked up right now. So perfect timing for that partnership.
Yeah, and not to mention their ETF just went live 3 days ago. Right, there's an HBAR ETF
Exactly.
on the stock exchange, which could be, and we saw 27 million of inflows yesterday, so of new ETFs coming on board. So, but that kind of leads us right into our next segment here. So every Friday we're lucky enough to have the great guys over at EmblemVault, Migrate.fun, Agent Hustle, and so on and so on. These guys are building so much stuff, but their main product is Agent Hustle and Migrate.fun. They kind of live off each other there, both on Solana, but now obviously I just said Agent Hustle. Now you have access to EVM and Hedera, Hashgraph. We do know that Jake has posted stuff about Binance Smart Chain coming as well. Absolutely huge and really, really amazing stuff that these guys have coming out here.
Absolutely. I can't wait to jump into it with Chris, because I know he's excited. He's kind of probably on the team, obviously, so he knows what's coming in the future. So I can't wait to hear what he has to say about it.
Let's do it. Without further ado, let's bring up Chris. Chris, welcome back to
Yo.
Revolution, sir. What's up, dude?
Yo, good morning. What is up, lads? How are we doing today? Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too, man. Doing good. Bitcoin is crossed back over 110. Let's try to complete the Bitcoin white paper celebration day anniversary today with that consistency to the upside. But how are you guys doing? Obviously, huge announcement yesterday. I think that's a huge move too. Hedera has tons of eyes on it, in my opinion. Maybe not from the everyday crypto native necessarily, but more so from the big, money, corporate backers and stuff like that. How are you guys feeling?
Yo, so happy Bitcoin white paper day. Iconic day. Iconic day. I can think back to so many years at this point where this time in the market, these months, life gets really crazy. So always fun to celebrate, always fun to just kind of tip the hat to the OG. And, it kind of makes Halloween a little bit more fun as well, because you're kind of, celebrating internally in a multifaceted way. Agent Hustle and Hedera dropped yesterday. We've been cooking on that for a couple months. This is a huge deal. This is an $8 billion blockchain, top 25 blockchain in the entire industry, has been battle tested for years, has some of the biggest and companies and enterprise partnerships in the world. So, the exposure for Hustle, who's sitting at a $5 million token at the moment, obviously the tech is super powerful, but this is just the very beginning. We're going to continue bringing these kind of further to reach ecosystems, all centered around Hustle, where you can just kind of transact seamlessly throughout all these different ecosystems. So it should bring a lot of value, not only to our community, but to the Hedera community that's kind of maybe a bit siloed, maybe a bit further off from maybe the Solanas, the Ethereums, and even like the Bitcoin runes and those type of ecosystems. So, it's a foundation level partnership. It's not just like a handshake deal. It's, the real thing coming from their biggest accounts. We've been in talks with them for months to make this happen. So the integrations are just getting started, but it's really powerful for us, and it'll be extremely powerful for them as well.
Yeah, I'm curious. Did they reach out to you guys, or did you guys kind of get in their DMs and say, "Hey, like this is what we built"? I'm just curious, and from that standpoint.
Yeah, so I mean, we just kind of have contacts everywhere, but we are busy all the time, so we don't really do too much reaching out personally, because we can barely handle all of our products that we have going on all the time. So we get connected with people where I was taking calls, where I was just getting connected with who would be meaningful, and they came on the docket, and we were super excited to get it going, and they were just as excited. So the synergies there with not only just like their blockchain level partnerships, but the enterprises that work with them and the things that we can automate and kind of bring intelligent execution to is pretty next level. So this is like, I posted a few weeks ago, maybe it's time to start thinking of Agent Hustle as more of an enterprise level AI solution, an agent as a service type of deal, rather than just solely thinking of it as retail focused and consumer level. So this is a pretty exciting step for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? I've done a lot of research in terms of, who's kind of supporting Hedera in the early days. And I mean, if you look at their board, it's just absolutely nuts. So I think this is a huge partnership for both sides too, because like they need the innovative tech, right? So for the users and things like that. But we did have a question earlier in the show from Stan, which is a great community member and a community member of Hustle as well. And he says, what will Agent Hustle offer with the Hedera Hashgraph partnership? So maybe if you could maybe at a high level break down, what does that look like, I guess, for like Hustle users and Hustle community members?
Yeah, definitely. So it's live right now, the beginning phases of the partnership. So you're able to swap tokens between their biggest ecosystem dApps. You'll be able to use the customized Hustle conditional trading engine to set complex limit orders, stop losses, everything like that, away from keyboard trading as we generally call it. And then we're going to integrate with all their biggest applications pretty much. So in the earliest phases of kind of getting the build outs and seeing what the automations will look like. But I mean, this is we're really spending a ton of time on this. So if there's anything that's really popular or catching a lot of energy and attention on Hedera, you can expect that will be automated and included in the Agent Hustle build out for sure.
Yeah, and I do love how it kind of looks now, this site. So you kind of head over here, and then you kind of go up here, and then you have Ethereum, Hedera, and Solana. And Hedera, you kind of go into, you can go right into swaps right away, and you can swap on the side here, or you can talk to Hustle and have him swap for you. There was something I have to do to get Hustle to start using Hedera. Could you kind of walk me through that?
Yeah, you can just click over to the toolbox. Yep, perfect. And then you'll just toggle on Hedera.
Amazing.
There we go.
All
And
the
that'll
one.
get you access
Awesome.
to all the Hedera applications that are live. That list that you just showed, that'll be a lot bigger pretty soon. So you can expect more announcements coming from that end. But basically what people are doing on chain right now, it's the earliest days of the on-chain economy. And what they're doing is they're looking for intelligent ways to find tokens. So you can expect that will be pretty consistent across all of these different blockchains, whether it's obviously Solana. BNB is the second biggest ecosystem. That integration is well underway, should be coming up pretty soon. And Hedera is going to be pretty big. The thing that is special about Hedera that we really wanted to get this out is that everyone wants to be early to all this stuff. Well, this is an opportunity to be early into a top 25 blockchain that has been really focused on enterprise partners for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And now they're really trying to get their retail and their kind of consumer level user going. And what's the biggest way? What's the only way to do that at this moment? It's to get an on-chain token economy going. So I was there, in the earliest days of pretty much all these ecosystems, and you're always kind of catching a little bit of maybe flack that there's not much activity over there. The TVL might be a little bit low. But that's actually when you want to get involved, because that means that you have the lowest chance of downside and the highest chance of upside, right? So it's really an asymmetric bet that this big blockchain, one of the biggest and most prestigious in the industry, that's been battle tested and survived all of these years so far, is going to continue to exist and thrive into the future. So I think that's a super easy bet for us to make, and we're really excited to be a big part of the growth that's going to happen there.
Yeah, I mean, for sure about Hedera, but also, what gets me excited is the fact that you guys said, BSC is right around the corner as well. And it almost seems like you guys are trying to create this product that is, well, I'll start with this. For me, I've been battling in the trenches, which I'm getting beat up, but, everybody is right now.
I got some scars. I'm alive.
Yeah, right. But like the hardest part is to focus on Solana, BSC, and now Spark ecosystem from the Bitcoin ecosystem, and we're all trying to trench, right? You don't want to miss something. But I have to be in, Axiom for one thing, I have to be in my wallet for another, and I have to be, But it seems like what Hustle could be building here is a one-stop shop solution to where, I can just like deposit, amounts in all of my different chain wallets with Hustle and just be like, what's hot right now? And Hustle will be like, okay, these tokens from this chain, this token from this chain, this token, this is running, this is what I see. Is that the end goal here? Because if it is, I think that's going to separate you guys.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's all about making the user experience as frictionless as possible. And so really centering Hustle around all of these different blockchains where he can interact and go and get information, real-time alerts, everything against all these hotspots. Because the attention changes on a dime. And it's really annoying. That's like the biggest hurdle, is to go and boot up a new wallet for a new ecosystem, or find out which applications you need to do to use to track all these tokens. And then we just power it with the AI, which gives us like, real-time analysis and in-depth research on all of these kind of new products. And it's a very familiar interface as you go from ecosystem to ecosystem. So whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's BNB or some of the other launch partners that will be announced over the coming weeks and months, I think that you'll really start to see everything kind of come together in unison and be centered around one single platform. You're always going to be able to use your favorite ecosystem platforms, whether it's GMGN or Padre that just got picked up by Pump. But you'll kind of use it in tandem with something like Hustle, because those are very static, kind of like dashboard alerts and notifications, where with Hustle you can get a second opinion, or you can even let him drive the car himself, right, based on his analysis. So there's a ton of reinforced learning. So I think that once we really get these ecosystems going, he'll really start to pick up winners and really improve his hit rate, as not only from like just the Solana trenches, but as they kind of widen out and broaden out to all these other ecosystems. So pretty cool stuff coming with all the ecosystems that you mentioned, and maybe a few more too.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. Like when I first came over here and I saw that you have Ethereum and there, and you have all this room here. I was gonna ask you, like, what's all this room here gonna be?
Space. Well, it'll be full pretty soon. The cool thing, I mean, the funny thing, Hedera is huge, right? Hedera is massive.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting partnership for us. But look at Ethereum. I mean, that was announced alongside it. All people were more excited about the Hedera integration, which is pretty cool. But both of them are pretty significant partnerships, and both of them will have pretty powerful build outs in the coming weeks. So we have a lot of products in-house. We have Migrate Fund, we have the EmblemVault product suite, and we have Agent Hustle that's just a powerhouse in itself. And obviously Migrate Fund has been really, really hot over the last couple of months. And people were like, oh, you guys might be spending too much time on Migrate Fund and not enough attention over on Agent Hustle. And that's just really not the case. We're cranking on all the products all the time. And it just shifts, right? It shifts with where the attention is at. You don't really want to divert attention from yourself. That doesn't really make sense. You don't want to just kind of cannibalize your own attention to try and push something new. So just naturally it'll shift between all these different products. Say, meme coins are hot, or utilities hot, or NFTs are hot. We can just kind of cycle between all of our different products. So we're in a very, very strong position.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of Migrate.Fund, you guys have a big week coming up. Last week we talked to Jake. He said November 4th was a big day for you guys. Is that still the plan here?
Yeah, teams are going live with the second cohort coming up on the 4th. I think there's a few more announcements to come as well whenever the teams are prepared. But this is, this will be a smaller team. LPs are pretty big. There's a couple big LPs that I think are coming that should announce within the next couple days, unless they postpone, but not that I know of. And there is just a lot happening in the background. So if anyone is just thinking like, oh, migration season, the narrative isn't as strong as it was, the Launchpad wars have calmed down, they haven't by any means. and the inbound that we see, the partnerships that we're working on, and just the next stage of the migration meta and the migration narrative, it really hasn't begun yet. So Migrate Fund will be making some serious noise here before the end of the year, for sure.
I think it's crazy that you guys started that meta, first of all, right? And I think that you're going to get your, your due credit, in my opinion, because you guys are the number one servicer. That's going to be a third party servicer, and once there's more plans that are going to be revealed and stuff like that. But it's crazy. Yeah. The migration season, in my opinion, has just started, actually. It might not be talked about a lot because I don't think teams necessarily love to talk about that topic all the time, but I think there's things that are definitely happening. Let's kind of get a little bit back to, the agent hustle part of things a little bit here.
Of course.
So, for community members right now, like, what would the best piece of advice be for them? Because some of them are kind of like, the market cap this, or, like you mentioned, they're focused on migrate.fund, that, or whatever. Is there something with the overall market that like could change everything? Do you feel like maybe they just need to kind of be patient in that aspect, or is it more of like a business development thing? If you believe in our business, then you got to wait till we get to that point. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that at its core, investing in a token is investing in the team behind it directly. And so, I mean, the team is firing on all cylinders. We've never been in a better position. We're the biggest holder of the token. Clearly, that's why we launched the token, is because it aligns us, all of our products and all of our community, alongside the teams, that we all have the same interests to basically get the token to be as used and as popular as possible, right? Yeah, sure. Like, you look at maybe the 402 meta, it was really, really hot, but a lot of those tokens have taken a hit over the last couple of weeks. And people are like, why didn't you join the 402 narrative? It's like, well, first of all, these teams have been building for months and months to hopefully strike fire at some point. You don't really know when the narrative's going to hit. You can just be prepared for hopefully when the next narrative does. So can we integrate 402? Are we working on some cool 402 stuff? Of course, we always are. But you can't really just force yourself into the narrative. And these things have to happen naturally. And that's why we have a really expansive product suite where pretty much anytime there's a pocket that's hot in the market, we have some infrastructure, we have some products that'll be of interest to the different communities. And that's really just the very beginning. Our developers are spread out across Migrate Fund, working every single day, spread out across Agent Hustle, working every single day. And then Shannon's back on EmblemVault and overseeing everything else. There's some super cool stuff coming with EmblemVault pretty soon that I think people will be pretty interested in. And I just think that the products themselves are so big and so consuming. It's kind of hard to grasp the potential of all three of them working in tandem. And so, we're in a volatile industry. This is the most volatile industry on the planet, but that's what you pay for. That's what you sign up for. If you don't want the volatility, if you don't want the risks and the kind of, the experience of being early and trying to take bets on these super early teams, then there's plenty of other industries. I don't really know what to tell you. There's been some chatter, and it's all just comes with the territory. You live with the ups, you live with the downs, and you just operate in the middle. It's another day. Nothing really changes internally. We're just going to continue building the future. But like, some people are like, why would you just launch it? Why did you launch a token? You should just be a product company. And I would look at that as like being like a vegan that works in like a meat industry. Like, the whole product, the whole innovation of crypto is to launch a token for incentives and coordination between you, your teams, your products, and your community. And so for us to not take part in that and give our users and our community members and all of our fans an opportunity to invest in us at the earliest stages, they can ride out the whole journey with us, that would be a total misfire on our part. So we're super comfortable with where we're at. We're excited about the position that we're at. And I think the future is brighter than ever.
Yeah, I think you answered that perfectly, and I think you guys actually handled the X402 meta perfectly, because I did see some teams that were related to AI that were just saying, oh, putting posts out like, oh, our X402 plan is coming out next week or something. You guys were kind of like, well, we have thought about this actually for a while, and things in the background. So I think you guys handled that perfectly. So that's what you want, because you don't want to fake it.
Real quick on that too, we have a lot of stuff that's being built every single day, and you can't just like throw everything away just to jump on a narrative that you don't know how long it'll last. Like the privacy meta is going big. Should we just transition to being a full-time privacy company overnight? And then when that dies off for the time being, then we'll just transition to another one. No, you just have to stay steadfast and where you're pretty confident in the market is going. And we've continued to be right over and over again. And I think that trajectory will continue. So like I said, I really can't stress it enough. I mean, the company has been through a lot. The team has been through a lot of ups and a lot of downs over the years. This is by far the best position that the company has ever been in. Like, it has never been closer. So price gets dislocated from progress, and the progress is substantial.
Yeah, 100%. And I said, you said something that I always say. I don't invest in projects. I invest in teams, right? So no matter what the team is building, you're that one token now is a part of that, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, I feel like you guys having a token is like amazing for people who are watching you from afar and can kind of take, basically, hey, I'm investing in this. I think I'm making the bet that these guys are going to win, and seeing Agent Hustle, seeing Migrate.fun, and seeing EmblemVault, and now you're here kind of telling me that EmblemVault could be the biggest out of the three, and Agent Hustle just got signed with Hedera, right? So it's pretty wild to think about in that. So looking at all three projects, being a part of that team, is it ever just like overwhelming for the team, or is it just like,
No.
I can't imagine a meeting where it's just like, all right, let's jump to this and this. Is it pretty crazy?
No, I mean, this is exactly what we want to do. This is what we're built for. This is what we've been building towards. Every day is a new adventure, and we're just here to take it by the horns. This is what we signed up for, and the team is small, but we're mighty. And this is what we want to do. We're here to prove everyone wrong. We were consistently an underdog, and that's okay. But you get comfortable being uncomfortable, and we're building the future. So today it's a Agent Hustle partnership with Hedera. That doesn't mean that there's not an EmblemVault partnership with Hedera to come. You know what I mean? And so it's an easy way to kind of Trojan horse all of our different products to all these different enterprise partners that maybe one fits their needs today, but they don't know what else is available in the product stack. You guys were
I
talking.
didn't even think about that. That's crazy. That like, now you have an open door to these guys. Now it's like, hey, check out this product.
I would say that we're pretty much in contact with almost all major teams along the way. So pretty much anything you can think of, we've talked to, we're talking to, or we're working on stuff together. So a lot to come. You guys were talking earlier how Memecoins are just so tough, right? It's one wrong move and the token goes to zero. The Binance intern post that the robot's shutting down, the token goes to zero. Our community isn't the biggest, but it is there is a lot of diehard fans and community members and holders that have been with Shannon, or part of the Shannon cult that we call them, or some of the early Emblem days, or even just fans of Agent Hustle and beyond. So a lot of people take bigger positions in something like Hustle because they know we're going to show up every single day. They know that we're not going anywhere. We've survived all the ups. We've survived all the downs. We're going to continue to weather all the future storms. But it's rare that you can kind of get early on something and take pretty big bets that have higher probability chances of figuring it out. And we've always been a team that's been able to figure it out. And before, we're not VC funded. So funding was kind of always the biggest issue, right? Where's the next check going to come from? But as in terms of our treasury, in terms of like our finances, in terms of our surface area and our coverage and our contacts, we've never been stronger. So this is the most exciting time to be here.
Yeah, and also like, and how you get there is by creating revenue generating products, right? And so I mean, and you guys have, and it was the best products that are created, in my opinion, are products that the companies create for their own pain point. And that's exactly what happened with Migrate.fund. And you guys started a meta, like a actual migration season. And so that just gives me even more confidence in your ability as a team. And also one of the biggest things that I think like changed everything was the fact that you guys are all positioned. Each and every one of you guys are all positioned perfectly where you need to be in charge of this, Adam be in charge of that, you're in charge of this, Jake in charge of that, and then Shannon, Shannon got to do what he's always wanted to do for the longest time, and that was what he thrived at, and that's building things, coding, and stuff like that. So, would you agree with that? Do you feel like the structure of the company is probably in the best form right now?
Yeah, it's very natural the way that it flows, and everyone is kind of like owning their own territory while owning any kind of gaps between those territories as well. So we all work on everything, but some of us are more I'm more focused on something like the EmblemVault side. Adam's more focused on more of like the Migrate Fund side. Jake's more focused on the Agent Hustle side. But we all kind of mix and match and are always there to support each other. And then Shannon is just the best at just like product development, kind of working on like the next generation of the company and where the future is going. And so, I mean, I can't even stress it enough. Like the team is absolutely firing. We couldn't be more excited about where we're at. And there's just opportunities, if maybe we were the only DeFi AI platform that got hit hard with the market turn down, then maybe it would make more sense for some people to be up in arms. But I mean, look across the ecosystem, everything is down 90%. Some of these tokens are down from $500 million market caps to like 18 million or 15 million, So it's all relative. I'm not saying that that's an excuse for any tokens to be down. Obviously, we don't want our community to be in any sort of pain or turmoil, but it comes with the territory. Nothing just goes up in a straight line. Bitcoin's faced savage price drawdowns. Ethereum's faced savage price drawdowns. Solana went from $250 to $8. I mean, was the product dead? No, it was more alive than ever. So, I mean, just price gets, everyone is always focused on price, but you need to look a little bit deeper and look at the actual development that's happening. And I mean, we have development going on in every single ecosystem and big developments. So the amount of users that are going to come online, pretty exciting. And, we're just going to continue shipping new things. And this is the best time to be a hustler.
Yeah, 100%. And like people have to understand too, hey, Anon, which was looked at as, the top project in the space in the Agent Hustle, the same category, really. It went from, 70 million. I think it's sitting around like maybe a little higher than Hustle at this point, right? Like it got beaten down so bad and it was looked at as something that's absolutely huge. And I think Hustle, I think Jake was telling us, has even more users than hey, Anon at this point. So especially now that you guys are going to be adding Hedera and Ethereum. So yeah, 100%. We have some questions here. My guy Stan says, he said, Chris mentioned enterprise. Is Agent Hustle hinting towards a BlackRock, Google, Amazon, or partnership? What do you think? Would you like to partner with any of these guys?
I don't know. Is that the crypto ethos? Like, do we just want to be a BlackRock AI? I don't know. We'll see. But these are the earliest days of partnerships. But I think that what's exciting is that not all of these companies want to build their own on-chain execution environments and on-chain transaction layers and automation levels. So maybe, something like the Agent Hustle SDK is something that will really come to the forefront over the next coming months, right? As some of these partners just see that they can plug into our infrastructure really seamlessly and go right to market without too much internal building. So I think there's a lot more substance there than people would realize for like a $5 million market cap token at the moment.
Yeah, real quick though, what's the pitch? He wants to know, could Chris share a snippet of the sales pitch to these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that most likely, the majority of the time, we're just so confident that one of the biggest hindrances to blockchain adoption is the wallet infrastructure and how complex it is for all these different users and how much friction there is to go from blockchain to blockchain. And it's very easy to understand a simple chat interface where you have ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any of these AI platforms that have millions up to billions of users monthly that are interacting in that way. So why would we try and reinvent the wheel and force feed, an interface that people just don't really like? They've proven that they don't like the crypto interface, but they do like the AI interface. So why don't we bring the AI interface to crypto, plug it into all these different ecosystems, not only do you get an easier natural language text to transact interface, but you also get intelligent execution. You get secondary analysis. You get research at your fingertips. So it's like 100x or 1000x improvement on the current infrastructure. It's really not that hard of a sell. It's pretty obvious once you kind of see it and explain it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You know, and it could actually walk people through it. Like if you're just like a complete noob and you're just like, okay, like how do I get money? And you hustle, you know, hustle be like, okay, well, just send Solana over to this address or et cetera, right? So I do think that's going to be the end game. And I think that hustle can definitely be at the forefront of that. And it seems like that's the direction you guys are going in, you know, one-stop shop. I would love that. Absolutely. I don't have to keep, you know, using all these separate tools. You know, you can use your research tools, like you said, GMGN and stuff, but doing the buying and execution part, I want to do all that in one spot. And I just don't have that right now. And so I'll definitely be using that when you guys integrate that. But I'm curious, you know, you do have a background in the TradFi industry as well. So I'm curious about your overall kind of, not necessarily macro, but like, I guess like our market outlook to finish out this year. You have really good insight with that. Are you looking for, you know, them to like do a final flush out with leverage, and then we have this walk up to finish out the year with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then some alts? Or do you think we're going to have a tough time to finish out the year?
I mean, I'm bullish. I'm bullish. I think this flush out was pretty needed. You know, you had like every amateur ever hopping on high leverage perps that they've never even touched before for the first time, trying to farm points on Aster and every other secondary platform that came up to compete with hype. So I mean, that was like a doomsday trap for like every meme coin trader that thought they were going to be the next big perp trader, right? Everyone got liquidated in one go. It was mostly altcoins though, right? The majors didn't really get hit too hard. They kind of recovered pretty quickly. I think Bitcoin was at like 116 and now it's at like 110. Maybe it was at 120, but still holding up relatively well. So you know, it was mostly retail crypto natives that kind of got wiped out, mostly just altcoin traders and everything like that. But the big money is in TradFi, right? So the stability, I think, is still there. I don't think that they got rinsed. I don't think that they're betting on Mudang on 50x leverage or something like that. As far as I know, they could be, but I don't think that that's the case. And historically, this is the best time of year to be in crypto, right? You see a ton of fall and winter rallies going into the new year. And then I think that you have midterms coming up. So I think everything is kind of on pace for not only just from a federal government level, but for all markets to kind of really fire on all cylinders. You know, you have a president that's in office that has a keen eye on the stock market all the time. He sees that as probably the biggest trigger for his success, right? That's what he kind of wins people over. And if the stock market does fall, I think people are in a rough shape already coming off of like 2020 and just like the broader economy. I think that it shows that like travel is already down, you know, consumer spending is already down. Prices are already high for, you know, food and utilities and everything else. So I think it can be pretty ugly if it turns, but I think that everyone has every incentive to make sure that it does not turn, at least for the next 6 months. You do have to be cognizant that these ETFs came on board last year at like when Bitcoin was, you know, $20,000. So a lot of these ETFs got seeded at 25K, 30K, 35K. And, you know, they put tens of billions of dollars to work. And that money is up 5X, 6X, 7X. And for an institution that's deploying, you know, decabillions of dollars, those are massive gains. So I always have to be cognizant of, you know, tax harvesting and selling going into the new year. But I think that the positive outlook and the incentives outweigh the negative outlook. So I'm not really changing any positions here or any future outlook.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, you mentioned ETFs. You know, obviously we have the Bitcoin, Ethereum, but this week we got 3 other ones. We got a HBAR, we got a Litecoin, and we got a Solana. What's your take on this? And do you see this being something that could be a catalyst for a bull run coming out?
The way that I see it is more of just consistent bids that kind of really support the market. I don't see it, you know, going on any substantive runs solely because of these ETFs. I see it more as like a supportive bid, as, you know, these everyday Americans take, you know, 5% or 10% of their 401k and diversify it into some of these ETFs. So you'll have more of a consistent bid. But with like these digital asset treasuries and everything else, it kind of took, it already added that kind of traditional way of exposure to these mainstream market participants. So I don't really see it as being a giant catalyst, but I do think it's a genuine next step to being a really supportive feature within the market itself. So I think a lot of these drawdowns will get kind of muted. I think it's always going to be crazy. You're always going to get those 10-10 leverage flushes once a year or twice a year because we're apes, and you give someone a bar that goes up to 150x leverage. A lot of people are going to take that. They're not really ready for that kind of responsibility. They don't really know what they're doing, or maybe they're just hyper gambling and they do know what they're doing. But I think those leverage flushes are natural, and I think that they're needed. And I think that as just we bring these markets to more traditional finance era markets, I think you're going to get a consistent bid. I think that's really supportive for the maturity of the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love having you on, is because you do have that like deep insight of like the macro and just kind of the investing world. Yeah, so the meme coin traders that made all that money earlier this year, late last year, I guess they got overconfident and said, okay, look, memes are getting harder. Let's take this to the blue chip leverage world. And they found out quickly. So what's you said you're going to kind of stay in your positions. You feel confident with that? Is it your long-term vision is just, look, I believe in the space, I work in it, and look, this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm overexposed, I'm man, what was the saying, like ridiculously long or whatever? Raul Paul.
Shizzy, you used to say it. What was it?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Something. What is it?
I thought it was like, I'm not broke, I'm overexposed or something like that. I forgot what you
No,
Shizzy
has it.
Okay. It's something.
Irresponsibly long or something like that.
Irresponsibly long, yeah.
And yeah, I think that I bet my career on this industry. I bet my life on this industry at this point. I've given up pretty much everything to be here every single day. It's kind of the opportunity that every generation wishes that they had, and so it's really, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're kind of splitting your time elsewhere, and if you believe in the future of the industry and the impact that it can have. So, I mean, I come here every single day. I've been doing it for better part of a decade, and I don't think I'm going anywhere soon. So, but I do have to say that survival is priority number one. You can't continue if you don't survive. So you can't just put your whole portfolio in the latest, 2-day-old meme coin and hope that you're going to survive over the next decade. So pick your bets, pick strong teams and strong products, and I think that you're going to do really well. We lose sight of how expansive and exponential this industry can be. You look at this past week, Nvidia hit $5 trillion in market cap. Bitcoin is like $2 trillion in market cap. So you're looking at one US tech company versus a global monetary system that's, and that's worth 2.5x times the market cap of Bitcoin. You look at gold, that's like, I don't know, what's it at? It was at 30 trillion last time I looked. That's 15 times higher than a new digital global monetary system. So it's so easy to look at these people making like, oh, you made $80,000, or that guy, became a millionaire last week because he invested in the Lynx Fox, the white Lynx Fox or something like that. But if you really just make substantive and concentrated bets on teams and really innovative products and builders that you think are going to withstand the turndowns and the storms, I think that there's no better place for those high potential exponential gains that people are really looking for.
Yeah, man. 100%. And then Stan has a question here. We did talk about the X402 a little bit. He says, do we see does the Agent Hustle foresee a X402 use case? The only use case I see for Agent Hustle and X402 is, instead of me paying a subscription model, if I was able to pay like 7 cents per prompt. Do you see maybe a day where I potentially could, not go to subscription model, but if I want to use this, I just, I could pay with Solana. It's already in my wallet.
Yeah, I think that there's those kind of use cases. I think there's agent to agent payment use cases that maybe people aren't really too hard. So whether, although Agent Hustle may be pretty expansive, covering a lot of surface area between a lot of different ecosystems, there might be other powerful AI agents that are within those ecosystems. And so what kind of collaborations, what kind of payments, what kind of transactions and partnerships can be kind of achieved like that. And I think that we're just going into really an autonomous world. So having the ability to really power autonomous streaming payments is really powerful. And there's definitely some pretty exciting things that we're exploring in that range.
Yeah, I could actually give an example of that. So if Polymarket is integrated into Hustle at some point, and there's the agent to agent.
That's
yeah. Okay. So when it gets integrated, and there's an agent to agent market, and you're like, hey, Hustle, I want some in-depth data on MBA because I want to get into this Polymarket bit, but I need some good in-depth data. Hustle could go into that agent to agent market, look for the data agent that pulls all the statistics for whatever, et cetera, pay the micropayment, pull that data, and then Hustle can help you with that data to help you kind of guide you. Is that maybe an example that makes sense in that case?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And just really iterating that the future is protocols and not really companies, and headless protocols where you just spin something up and it's like almost like a DAO structure where it's really just kind of continuously running itself. And if it's able to stream payments between different protocols, it really just elevates the entire industry, right? There's such a bottleneck within accepting and delivering online payments for kind of autonomous figures or autonomous agents. And 402 really helps kind of deliver on that vision. And I think you'll see more of that soon. But we don't just rush things to market just to kind of catch the narrative. We kind of craft our strategy, we build the things that we need to build, and we deliver them to the market when we're ready, or we think that the market is the most ready for them. So we're always cooking a ton of stuff, and sometimes we're not able to hit right when the market is ready for it, but other times we are. So you can't always bet 1,000, but we're betting pretty good. Pretty happy with the trajectory so far.
Yeah. And Stan wants to know if you're building any Agent Hustle merch. Is that going to be something that we're going to see in the future?
Yeah, the community definitely likes it. We've talked about it before. We go to a couple conferences a year. We'll be going to a few next year as well. So find us and you'll get some Agent Hustle merch.
Nice. I definitely want some merch. I always try to get as much merch as possible at the conventions. But is there anything that we haven't really hit on with any of the product suites at with Emblem, Migrate, Hustle so far? Any updates or anything you want to cover?
I think that we can talk about more Agent Hustle integrations. Just that, building in the AI sector, crypto AI sector, it's so early. And it's so powerful because these models are really just being built out with hundreds of billions of dollars in CapEx between all these different major companies. So not only are the models getting exponentially bigger and better every month, but then you have the Agent Hustle build out that's getting better and better every single month. So genuinely, it's exponential growth times exponential growth. And just to be at like the maturity level of the build where we're able to expand, we're able to take on new accounts, we're able to grow our users, even at this stage. I mean, I think when we're going to look back on this in like 1 year's time, the progress is going to continue to be pretty significant. And we're really going to be like, wow, those early days were so powerful, but look at where we are today. And then, you guys are obviously from the Bitcoin ecosystem, spend a lot of time in that area. And I think we have some super cool stuff, not only from the EmblemVault side coming up, but also with the Agent Hustle side. So really significant partnerships and integrations coming there. And I think that, we're huge fans of the Bitcoin ecosystem, the Runes ecosystem, Ordinals, and we're always looking for ways to kind of support and grow and develop within that industry, in that area. And I think it's like a month and a half away, but we have some super cool integrations. I think that everyone in the Bitcoin ecosystem will get a solid taste of Hustle and be able to integrate it into their everyday use cases and kind of analysis pretty much every day. So maybe 45 days or so until that comes to life.
Love it. And who knows, if the Spark ecosystem within Bitcoin takes off, that's always something that you guys could consider as well, because it'll be a part of it. And that's kind of how I view it. It's like, Hustle will have like the Bitcoin ecosystem tool set and package, dealing with these assets and stuff like that. So I think 6 months down the road, like Hustle is going to be a completely different, like extremely versatile product, and I can't wait for that. I'm like a kid in Christmas. 6 months. 6 months later.
Yeah, I mean, 6 months goes by quick. It is like an eternity in crypto, but it does happen overnight as well. But he's a powerful agent on Solana. He's going to be a powerful agent on Hedera. He's going to be a powerful agent on Bitcoin. He's going to be a powerful agent within all these different ecosystems. And maybe some people will only use him for those specific blockchains and areas of the market. But you can always toggle on the other features and get it all in one single interface. So that's super exciting. As far as something like Migrate Fund, I don't think that people are really, we weren't putting together the whole development and maturity of the migration space and what it really can be, right? You have these launch pads come and go frequently, and we're still at the earliest phases of it, right? We don't even have any kind of traditional level launch pads where, like, maybe instead of ICO or IPOing, you have like a CME group launch pad or something like that. And so there's always going to be these migrations that are going to want to take place, not only between these launch pads, the new ones, the old ones, and everything that's to come, but to your own liquidity pool too. And so at some point, we believe that, there's always going to be teams that want to venture off into and take full control of their liquidity and maybe migrate off of launch pads for good into their own liquidity pools. And so there's a lot of benefits being on a premier launchpad, but there's a lot of benefits being on your own as well. And so I think that just, the trajectory of the industry, you're always going to have like one or two, maybe 3 or 4 really, really big launchpads. And then you're going to have a lot of teams that choose to kind of control and operate their own liquidity, which means that they'll probably be launching on launchpads and going and venturing off onto their own LPs when they develop fully. And Migrate Fund is just really in such a strong position. We're about to complete our 20th migration, right? 21, I think. So that's pretty much before anyone else has completed a consumer-facing migration. So just like the level of experience and the dollar amounts that we've migrated so far, second to none, fully audited platform. I don't believe that anyone else has an audited platform either. So we're on version 3, maybe going on version 4 soon. And most teams aren't even have a version 1 platform to market. So the lead there is palpable, but we're always collaborative. We're excited for anyone else to come to market. We're never like gatekeeping any of these segments within the market. We welcome any competition and anyone else kind of building in the space to really grow the narrative. But the lead that we have right now is pretty significant.
Yeah, it's almost like what Jake says, launch pads or training wheels. It helps you get started, create a community around your token, grow, but then eventually you kind of grow out of the launch pad, right? You kind of grow out of that, and instead of getting a portion of the fees, why not get all the fees, right, from the liquidity pool? So that's why you would go to something like Radium or Pump Swap on your own, right, without giving anyone anything in that sense. And you can set your fee. You can set your fee to 2-3% if you want to, depending on what you want. And you can do something where you want to do a buyback and burn with 1% of the fee or whatever. That'll be up to you. But that's getting off the training wheels and kind of getting you into your own token. Very similar to what you guys did. I mean, you guys started on the launch pad and then eventually grew out of your training wheels and became this big thing, and you get a rebrand on top of that. You get to rename it. Maybe at the beginning you named it something silly, and now you want to get into more of a structured company. And that's kind of when you kind of get into that phase too. So there's many reasons, not only to go from Pump Swap to this swap or whatever, but there's many reasons to kind of use you guys, and you can potentially go from staying the same pool and just change the data, right?
Yeah, I think that you touched on a really important point, which is there's a variety of reasons that people will always need to migrate, whether it be, they need new metadata, they want to rebrand, they want to move off of where they're from. So, these tokens are immutable. That's why we build in this industry. That's why you launch a token. And with that comes responsibility and the kind of hindrance at times where if you outgrow it, you can't really change it. And so the only way to do that is with a full migration. So the platform is becoming extremely seamless. We've worked out a ton of edge cases over the last few months. And so just like really being hands-on with these teams and learning exactly what they're migrating for and kind of working to fulfill each team's needs, which are all a little bit different, puts us in a pretty strong position to understand what the market wants and how many like levels of depth it really needs for a platform like that. But I think that migrations are just going to continue. I think they're going to get way bigger than we can ever even imagine, just because the ecosystem is going to get so much bigger than we can ever imagine. You know, there's so many different launchpad. Like we're only talking about Solana at the moment. Basically, we're talking about Bonk. We're talking about Believe is on the timeline a lot today, for good or for better or for worse. We're talking about Pump Fund. That's one blockchain and a few launchpads in it. You know, all of these. Look at Hedera. They launched Meme Job. They have Saucer Swap, which is kind of their DEX. Binance has 4, right? 4 Meme. All of these different blockchains are building the infrastructure for these token launchers, and they're going to have competition within themselves. So I'm sure someone will spin up a rival to 4 Meme. That's the biggest one on Binance. And then you'll have a little bit of the same. Where are the incentives? Or do I want to go on my own liquidity pool? So all these ecosystems are going to get bigger. And there's always going to be a need for people wanting to migrate or move to the next thing or take control over the liquidity, whatever it may be. And I look at it as, you know, thinking back to the earliest days of the internet, and you think like, oh, like, you know, companies were going parabolic because they were launching websites, they were getting online. But for the most part, a lot of people are like, why would I launch a website? Right. And now, like, you have to have a website. It's just that is the standard. So we're looking at tokens like a lot of people in this industry are like, why would I launch a token? But they're not really fully understanding that everything is going to be tokenized in the future. And this is just the earliest days for it.
100%. You know, my background is digital marketing. It's over 10 years in the corporate world until Shizzy and I did this full time. And I see the alignment. You know, the token, if used correctly, is such a powerful marketing tool in this industry. You know what I mean? To get because, you know, people in this industry, they want to see opportunity. In the past year, it's been hard to find new ones and all these things that have the teams. But if you find that through like finding their token, then, you know, I think that's where the opportunity is. But yeah, awesome. I can't wait to see what else Hustle has coming up to finish off the year and early next year. But Shizzy, did you have anything else before we wrap it up? I wanted to give Chris the mic one more time, you know, just to kind of send us out here.
Yeah, man, it's always great to catch up with you guys. Appreciate all the support and everything that you do. So thanks for showing up with us every single day and every single week. I think that just maybe the most underrated aspect of, which is funny at this point, is just of our company is EmblemVault. So keep an eye on EmblemVault. Look for some updates coming there. You know, we can't spoon feed and force feed the NFT meta to come back, but when it does, nobody's positioned better than EmblemVault. And, you know, at its core, EmblemVault is a tokenized wallet that allows NFTs and fungible tokens to trade between blockchains, right? And you're seeing more and more blockchains spin up. You're seeing more and more blockchain assets spin up on those blockchains. And eventually all of those blockchains, all of those assets are going to want to move interconnected onto all these different blockchains. And EmblemVault is the best solution for it. So thinking of what NFTs are today, maybe they're digital monkey pictures, maybe they're JPEGs. What are they going to be in the future? Whether they're going to be, you know, cars or houses or RWAs like watches and luxury goods, right? All those can be wrapped into an NFT and traded between different blockchains and custodied in different ways. So, you know, our product suite is really expansive, and the products themselves can be so big. But as a whole, I mean, it's a behemoth in the making. So couldn't be more excited to, you know, wake up every morning and build this out. And I think that, you know, a lot of this stuff is going to be really, really obvious in hindsight. And if you're here, you're early. You know, you did the hard part. Just hold on and make your bets and weather the storms with us, because we're not going anywhere.
Absolutely. And no better team to do that. You know, the NFT cross chain stuff. They set the meta for that actually last cycle. You guys are the, you know, pioneers of that, and also this migration season. So super excited for the future of Emblem altogether. Appreciate you, Chris, for joining us. Someone from your team comes every Friday. We're so appreciative of that. And so is the community. I know that. And we appreciate your time, and have a great weekend, sir.
Appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Chris. See you both. Absolutely awesome. I love Friday's my favorite day of the week, man. Getting to talk to those guys and kind of seeing, picking their brains and what they're thinking, not only with their project, but in the markets as well. And Chris is somebody who, you know, I really respect when it comes to TradFi. He's spent a lot of time there. I think Jake was messing around and he said he's been trading stocks since he was 12 or
Six.
something. 6. Yeah. So that was awesome. Absolutely awesome. I appreciate Chris and the time that he gives. But that's our show today. That's our week this week. And that's our month, right? So October is in the books, our last show of the month. I really appreciate you guys hanging with us. We know it's been hard. We know it hasn't been easy. But we're going to get to easy mode soon, right? It's time to turn this thing around, get into easy mode. But I appreciate every single one of you guys.
Absolutely. That's the hope, right? It's kind of, I will say this though, if you stick through this and we come out on the other side, you're gonna be so much stronger and you learn so much. So sometimes Susie and I just sit there after like a show, we're just like, oh man, like emotionally, like we're just beat up. And then we're like, someone always says, well, look how much we've learned this year. It's almost to kind of just get the positive energy going, but it's true. We continue that conversation. We're like, yeah, absolutely. Like when we get into this position next time, then we can react this way or that way. And you got to take every situation as a learning situation. And that's what we're going to do. So hopefully you guys can join us in that journey, but we appreciate you guys for hanging with us on a Friday. Bitcoin's kind of dancing around right now, but you know what? Bitcoin's going to take care of itself eventually. So, go enjoy the weekend. We appreciate you guys for supporting us and watching us. Without you guys, we couldn't do this. And we're so appreciative of that. But also without our partners, we couldn't do it. And so if you could check them out, we'd be, really thankful for that. SAS Terminal is the DEX aggregator swap for the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to swap for Bitcoin runes, alkanes, or now Spark tokens, and I saw a comment that says things are sparking. Maybe it's back on. I don't know. But if so, you can actually swap from their DEX, right? You can swap for some of the Spark tokens that migrated already, as they have added access to that, right? And you're going to earn Amber points whenever you swap on their platform. Amber points are going to go towards a give back for early adopters. You earn a bonus of Amber points the first time you connect your Bitcoin wallet to their platform. So make sure you're doing your swaps at satsterminal.com. Also, they have an amazing Bitcoin product that you can borrow against your Bitcoin, so you don't have to sell it before it makes its historical run up to new all-time highs. Whether it's the end of this year or early next year, you can get some stables through SAS Terminal against your Bitcoin, so you don't have to sell it. And they use the best partners, vendors in the business. So head over to sasterminal.com to learn more about those products. And then EmblemVault is the interoperability layer of the Bitcoin ecosystem. You just heard from Chris himself. They are the go-to product if you want to jump your Bitcoin ordinals or NFTs like Rare Pepe's counterparty NFTs over to Ethereum. You can actually take a loan out against your Taproot Wizard right now on the Gandhi application, which is the largest borrowing and lending platform in the Ethereum ecosystem. So you want to take advantage of that. Also, they're going to add other layers in the ecosystems to EmblemVault to be able to bridge your ordinals and NFTs too. And one of those environments is Solana. That is on the roadmap. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in the Solana ecosystem with agenthustle.ai. There is a free subscription level. You are limited to a certain amount of prompts, but if you want more prompts and more tool sets, you got to level up to the paid subscriptions. And so if you use the Hustle token, you actually get a discount. And the Hustle token is the single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem. And so look, Hustle can find some gems in the Solana ecosystem for you, which right now you need any help you can get. I'll tell you that from experience. And then also there's a conditional trading engine built within Hustle. So you can set some, buy and sell limit orders on Memecoins, which you can't normally do, right? So Hustle can take care of that for you while you're at the grocery store, at the gym, whatever you need to do. So make sure you're checking that out. And then there is another product within the ecosystem called migrate.fun. If you launched a token on one of the launch pads in Solana, Pump Fun or Bonk.fun, and you want to migrate to the other launch pad or to another one because there's multiple within the ecosystem, or you just want to manage your own LPs like Shizzy was talking about earlier to get more fees back, then you got to go through migrate.fun. They are the largest provider. I think they're pretty much the only one that's reputable, in my opinion, to be able to help you guys migrate, right? They already finished their first cohort. I think they had 14 teams, maybe more than that, but the second one is starting to load up as well. Some big brands as well going into that second one. So check them out. Go to migrate.fun, contact them. They walk you through the entire journey. So from what I'm hearing review-wise, great experience. Everything went smooth in the first cohort. So see if you can jump on that second one. And if not, probably get on to that third one. But head over to my.friend to learn more. And then also head over to emblem.vision to learn about their entire product suite. And then there is Merlin Chain, which is uniting Bitcoin's strength through the power of AI. They also have an AI, a tool called the Wizard version 2.0 that can allow you to swap cross-chain. You can actually swap if you have Merlin Bitcoin in your wallet for Solana tokens or BSC tokens as well. But it can guide you through the Merlin Chain ecosystem and do DeFi functionality for you there. You can do swaps and you can also stake. And speaking of staking, they have a proof of stake security model there at Merlin Chain. And there's 3 ways for you guys to participate. The first way is staking your Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. Everybody and their mom is looking for this type of product, a solid product. Their first staking vault ended September 30th. It is a 3-month lockup, and they earned about 17% on average APR for staking Bitcoin, which is absolutely nuts. And so the second staking vault is open, and it goes until January 8th. And they're going to be shooting for that similar number of APR, a range between 8 and 21%. So go to merlinchain.io and click stake to learn more about that. Then there's 2 other options for the Merlin Chain token staking. The first one is the flexible, which is a day-to-day. You earn a 15% APR on that one. You can claim your rewards every single day. You can roll them up into a compound interest strategy if you'd like, or you can just sell it down, hold it in your wallet, whatever you want to do. But if you want to withdraw from the flexible, there's a 7-day cooldown period, just so you guys know. Don't freak out. That's just a part of their protocol. And then the last option is the bonded option, which is a 6-month lockup of the Merlin Chain token. And you earn 45% APR with this one. You can roll it up in a compound interest as well. You can actually claim these daily. Same kind of deal with the flexible, except for this is a 6-month lockup period for your Merlin Chain tokens. So just know that, but you earn 45% APR. And then, so that's it with the proof of stake, staking vaults that you guys can participate in. But head over to merlinchain.io, learn about their ecosystem, and stay up to date by following them on X as well. They're constantly updating. They're getting more and more hype, just like Emblem. We're really proud of our partners because they're very solid in terms of like business fundamentals, the way that they approach things. So we appreciate you guys for checking out our partners.
Yep. In there as always, and if you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io, some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone entering the space, please send them our website. Really feel like it can help them get started and caught up to where we are today. And a brand new article dropped this week, X402. Learn all about it in these articles. They're 4 to 5 minute reads. You guys can jump through them very quickly, and we have one every single week. So every week in the past, you can just jump one from another to another and really get caught up on everything that's been happening in the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystems. If you guys need a VPN to use something like Hyperliquid, or to use pretty much anything that doesn't need KYC, you can get this NordVPN. And NordVPN, in my opinion, is the best VPN because I use it every single day, and I'm able to put myself in different servers. So a lot of VPNs will just put you on a random server. With Nord, you can pick, if you want to be in Australia, if you want to be in Italy, if you want to be here or there, you can actually set the place you want to be. Right now, I've been using Italy a lot. It seems to be able to use everything. Like I said, I'm able to use MEXC, which in my opinion is the best way to on and off ramp. Let's just say you have a Bitcoin and you want to go into Ethereum. It'll cost you like 35 cents to do the full switch and withdrawal. Highly recommend doing that if you haven't. And you can do up to like 6 Bitcoin before you have to, in a week before you have the KYC. So you don't have to worry about that. You get a long time before you need a KYC there. And anyway, too, Hyperliquid's been something that's taken the entire crypto verse by storm, right? And definitely want to check that out if you haven't yet. And with a VPN, that'll allow you to do it. Check it here. You pay $2.99 a month, lock it in, set it for 2 years, set it, forget it, pay the $80 or whatever it is, and be done with it. Highly recommend Nord. And on top of that, if you guys need merch, we have some of the best merch in all of crypto: hats, jackets, shirts, and much, much more. Check everything out here at onchainrevolution.io. Remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys, and until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain revolution roll call, market recap. You not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go, Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed, gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and arching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain revolution.